Chapter 519. Their ghastly faces, their claws that were like hooks, and the ghosts wailed as they rushed at Feng Bujue. Even if the people in the corridor were not ghosts but normal citizens of the monster kingdom, Feng Bujue would not be able to handle them. Furthermore, there was still the black fog chasing after him. If he was stopped, he would soon be swallowed by the director's evil spirit. While he was daydreaming, the group of ghosts was just inches away. Brother Ju swallowed his saliva. That is impossible. Yes, it was impossible to expect Lester to solve the problem himself, but Goblin Tornado Kick, Night Demon Flying Strike. Suddenly, two strange shadows flashed out from the wall. One of them had a shrill voice while the other had a deep voice. Both of them used their unique monster skills and blasted the group of ghosts in front of Feng Bujue to the ground. "Run, buddy!" the Earl shouted. "We'll hold them off. I will still complain about you, you villain. You scoundrel!" Victor yelled. The intrusion of these two uninvited guests instantly cleared a path for Brother Ju. "Thank you," Feng Bujue replied as he brushed past the two. The black fog followed closely behind. The director's voice rang out from the fog, "Don't block the way." But the two figures in the corridor, one tall and one short, didn't move a single step. Victor sneered, "Fake aristocrat, where did you copy that move from?" The Earl laughed as well. "Unscrupulous businessman, how can you call that tornado kick?" Until the moment they were engulfed by the black fog, they were still engaged in a war of words, refusing to give way to each other. On the other side, Brother Ju had successfully passed through the one-way corridor. He used the gravitational pull to jump to the first floor. Ah! As soon as he landed, he let out a scream. It was not that Brother Ju had accidentally sprained his ankle, but something had bitten his ankle. Feng Bujue lowered his head to look and saw a ghost baby with a green body and sharp fangs curling around his calf. Humph! Seeing this, Brother Ju's expression chilled. "Looks like you are not satisfied with the food." He showed no mercy. He raised his leg and kicked the monster away. However, when he got rid of one, he turned around and saw a whole corridor of monsters behind him. Ja! Dozens of ghost babies screamed at Feng Bujue at the same time. It sounded like crying and roaring, and it sent chills down his spine. "Ha ha ha ha! You can't run away!" The black fog that was the director chased after him again. "I told you! As your consciousness changes, everything here will change. There are countless earthbound spirits on this land. They won't let you escape back to the world of the living." Before he finished, the black fog rushed down from the corridor and poured down on Feng Bujue's head. In the time it took for a spark to fly, but a white smoke ring shot through the air like a real cannonball, scattering the falling black fog. Foo-foo! A soul-stirring sound of blowing smoke suddenly blew over. A black baby with a long horn on his head appeared at the other end of the corridor. He used a rhythmic tone and a clear accent to scold, "You Mardel faker!" He raised his short right hand and pointed at the ceiling. "Kill him!" With Martin's order, the ghost babies in the corridor changed their target. They climbed up the wall like cockroaches and rushed up the corridor. Feng Bujue saw that the path ahead was clear. Without hesitation, he ran. The black fog that had been dispersed had reformed within a few seconds, and it continued to pour out from the top. "Old smoker! You're a mantis trying to stop a chariot." When Martin heard that, he scoffed. Like a hip-hop rapper, he hurled another string of English slang and swear words at the director. It was as nasty as it could get. Even Brother Ju managed to pick up a few new vocabulary words from it. "Buddy, thanks for the cigarette," Feng Bujue said as he passed by Martin. "You're welcome," Feng Bujue replied and continued to move forward. At that moment, Brother Ju finally understood. There was another meaning to the side quests in this scenario. The number of side quests completed would determine the difficulty of the escape scenario. If he had only completed the 2 side quests, there would not have been so many NPCs coming to help him. If that's the case, Mr. Harper should be here to help, right? Feng Bujua ran toward the lobby and thought to himself. Jenny, Frank, and the little girl's scenarios are not considered side quests, so they might not show up. And the White Wolf Tribe chef in the kitchen has been killed, and I don't have much interaction with him. Looks like if not for Oink's sudden appearance, I might have had an extra helper. At that moment, he was still thinking about what had happened earlier and analyzing the things that he had missed and the things that were about to happen. This was definitely a sign of OCD. Of course, it was also possible that he was just troubled by the fact that he had not used the food card and Black Rabbit creamy candy that he had obtained. Hi, young man. As he expected, when he was close to the hospital lobby, Mr. Harper's figure appeared. The old man was wearing a patient's garb and stood in the middle of the corridor. His body was still covered in needle-like holes, but there was no tube attached to his body. You seem to be in trouble, Mr. Harper said after greeting Brother Jew. When Feng Bujua heard that, he gasped internally. No way, right? It's already caught up to me? He turned to look, and indeed, the black fog had returned. Yes, it's big trouble, Brother Jew answered as he picked up his pace. His running speed had slowed down. Firstly, it was because he couldn't take it anymore. Secondly, it was because of the injury on his ankle. The wound caused by the ghost baby's bite was much more serious than he had imagined. That's the Dean, right? Mr. Harper's pierced eyeballs stared straight at the black fog. I understand. Leave this to me, young man. Thank you. Feng Bujua ran past the old man and turned to reply. Harper. You old B*****. The director's roar came from the black fog again. Get out of my way. Mr. Harper ignored him. The old man steadied himself in the middle of the corridor and spread his arms. I told you. You be****. At this point, the needle-like holes on his body started to leak black liquid. I hate Dr. Pepper the most. Bang. There was a loud noise. It was as if a can the size of a water tank had been opened after being shaken violently. Feng Bujua, who had already run some distance, thought that Harper had self-destructed. He could not help but turn back to look. He saw a huge amount of black liquid gushing out from the needle-like holes on Mr. Harper's body and colliding with the black fog that was the director. For a moment, the two black substances collided in the corridor. One was like a tornado, the other was like a tidal wave. Harper and the director were evenly matched. At this time, Feng Bujua finally reached the last corner before the lobby. I'm almost at my limit. Brother Jew knew in his heart that Lester was about to die. The sock in his pocket could no longer suppress the erosion of the cold. This was a sign that his consciousness was about to collapse. In addition, the pain from the wound on his foot, the soreness from running, and the huge pressure on his heart and lungs all hinted that the player was about to reach the end of his life. Ha! Ha! Brother Jew's speed could only reach the level of brisk walking. He held the wall and staggered as he turned the last corner. The hospital lobby was right before his eyes. The door was just 20 meters away. He could even see a weak ray of sunlight coming in through the door. However, the hospital lobby that was more than 200 square meters in size was already filled with ghosts. In the eyes of Lester, they were no different from living people. They were all corporeal. To put it simply, the road ahead was impenetrable. Ha! Ha ha! Seeing this, Feng Bujua actually laughed. He took a deep breath and yelled at the people in front of him, Everyone, how about you give me a way out? As he said that, he took a step forward. However, the ghosts only stood where they were and looked at him. They had no intention of moving out of the way. I'm warning you. Brother Jew refused to admit defeat. Even though there was no other way, he still said confidently, My anger meter has been full for a long time. Don't force me to activate unparalleled and charge out. He said it like it was true, but unfortunately it was useless. Let him go. Suddenly, the voice of the little girl came from behind Brother Jew. Feng Bujue was startled and quickly turned around. Then, he saw a bright red ghost shadow. The newcomer was no doubt the little girl from room 125. At this time, she had really combed her hair into 2 ponytails. Her scary 8-eyed monster face was also revealed. However, in this kind of environment where ghosts gathered and none of them looked like humans, what kind of appearance was considered scary was debatable. The little girl glanced at Feng Bujue and then said to the group of ghosts, "He can save all of us." The 2 short sentences were spoken in a calm tone, but it seemed to have a magical power that drove the earthbound spirits to move. In less than 2 seconds, the ghosts neatly retreated to the side. A path was cleared among the ghosts that led to the door. "Why did you come to help me?" Feng Bujue turned around and asked. "You are also an earthbound spirit here. Even if you are not controlled by the spirit's instinct, there is no reason." "No, I am not," the little girl interrupted Brother Ju. "I am not a living spirit. I have never been one." She continued, "This place was originally a spirit gathering place, and I am the guardian spirit here. Until one day, a god who was more powerful than me came here and maliciously left behind a curse." She paused. "Actually, it is not this land that is cursed. It is I who is trapped here." She raised her hand and pointed at the door. "Go, traveler from another dimension, Lester, no matter who you are, your departure will be the end. Once this redemption is completed, I and all the souls here will be freed. Don't even think about it." With a roar, the black fog came. "I want you to die with me." When Feng Bujue saw the undercurrent, he turned around and ran. He limped and stumbled toward the door. The black fog behind them chased after them like a shadow. Even the little girl and the ghosts in the hall were powerless to resist and were all swallowed up. "You can't run away. I have absorbed all the power here. No one can stop me." The director's voice was almost at Feng Bujue's ear. "You can't escape from me. Lester, don't even think about it." At this moment, every inch of the hospital was filled with the thick black fog that was the director's evil spirit. Only the area close to the door had not been swallowed by him. And the only exit was right in front of them. Just a little more. Just a little more. Feng Bujue decided to crawl and roll to the door. But just 2 meters away from the door, his injured leg was seized by the black fog. "Ha ha ha ha! Ha ha ha!" The director laughed wildly. A fat face covered in copper coins poked out from the surging black fog. "The game is over," he was right. When the black fog wrapped around his leg, Feng Bujue's entire body was unable to move. An unprecedented feeling came over him. If death was a feeling, then at this moment, Feng Bujue was experiencing death. His body was dyed gray and shrouded in the aura of death. His 5 senses were still there, but they were barely there. This was the feeling of a ghost. Everything when they were alive seemed to be an illusion, and the death at this moment was real. If they did not accept this reality, they would disappear. Because they were afraid of forgetting that illusion, they desired to devour life. "You feel it, don't you? Ha! This is death." The director's face leaned over. "This is your final destination, and the final destination of all living beings. Ha! Even in the netherworld, you dregs will still be trampled under my feet. Death is also a part of chaos." Feng Bujue continued weakly. "All things begin from chaos and return to chaos. What is life? What is death? It doesn't matter. If you know life and death, then you can know life and death. If you don't know life and death, then there is no life and no death. What is reality? What is illusion? Everything is boundless and boundless. Everything is just a thought." He murmured, and his body began to move again, slowly crawling towards the door. "What's going on?" The director's face was filled with horror. "This is impossible." He controlled the black fog to continue pouncing on Feng Bujue, but the faint rays of sunlight at the door were like an indestructible barrier, blocking the black fog outside the line of light. I have to thank you, Feng Bujue said as he crawled. There is a part of the knowledge that Zero taught me. I couldn't understand it no matter how hard I tried. Now, thanks to the feeling of death, I seem to have figured it out. As soon as he finished speaking, Brother Bujue flipped over and rolled out of the door. No. A rumbling roar came from the black fog. It was so loud that it seemed to be able to shatter a person's soul. However, this roar was soon replaced by another voice. Oh my God! Look, is that clothes? Hey! Come here. I think we found something. Drag him out. Be careful. He's already frozen. Don't break his limbs. Some of the conversations reached Feng Bujue's ears. His body temperature dropped to freezing point in an instant. A blinding light suddenly flashed in front of his eyes, making him realize that his eyes were actually closed. Then, he gradually lost consciousness. When Feng Bujue came back to his senses, a voice notification rang in his ears. Current mission completed. Main mission completed. Automatically teleported after watching the ending. At this time, he lost control of his body. He was now in a state where he watched the CG from God's perspective. In the screen, the covers of many newspapers and magazines flashed. The miraculous survival of the night security guard escaped after being buried for nearly 30 hours. A miracle in exchange for the perseverance of the rescue team. Similar titles flashed continuously. Then, there were a few segments of television news. All kinds of monster anchors were holding a microphone in front of the camera. The Cedar County Public Hospital accident has led to a shocking corruption case. The local officials have been removed from their positions. The kingdom spokesperson has said that the case will be thoroughly investigated. He hopes that the current officials in the country will take this as a warning. The special plan for the inspection standards of public institutions has been initiated. It is expected to be implemented within the year. Is the curse rumor true? Is it the fault of the hospital director? Or is it a loophole in the system? Today, the only survivor of the Cedar County Public Hospital accident has been discharged. During his stay in the hospital, this gentleman refused all media interviews. After a series of intercut scenes flashed by, the scene in front of Feng Bujue finally stopped. Spring was in full bloom, and the ice and snow melted. On top of a small green hill, a figure slowly walked over. It was Lester. He wore casual clothes and walked toward a stone tablet on the top of the hill. In front of the stone tablet there was a marble square. It looked like it had been chopped by a knife or an axe. On it was engraved a line of words, in memory of the 125 people who died in the Cedar County Public Hospital accident. Lester stood silently in front of the tablet. He closed his eyes as if he was recalling something. However, there were some things that he could not remember. After standing there for a long time, he opened his eyes and offered the bouquet in his hand. In the end, he was relieved. He let out a long sigh of relief, turned around, and strode away. His eyes were no longer frivolous. Instead, there was a sense of gratitude for life. Chapter 520. The scenario has been completed. Calculating reward. Obtained EXP 340000. Game coins 100000 inch. Obtained items. Must have blade of penetration, flashlight, mirror. Missions completed. 6/6 completed special and hidden missions. 0. Unlocked world building. None. Time of terror points increase. 0. Highest terror points. 0%. Average terror points. 0%. Your terror rating is embodiment of valor. Extra reward obtained. Please select later. Obtain skill points. 1/224 additional bonus from skill points. EXP 12240. Game coins 100000 inch. Scenario cleared. Reward. Puzzle card X2. Calculation complete. Please continue. After returning to the login lobby, The notification appeared on the touch screen. This is great. I managed to get through 100 words just like that. Feng Bujue said something that came out of nowhere. We can ignore him. Okay, let's go take a look at the reward first. After looking at the notification, Feng Bujue turned and walked into the storage room. The 2 glass tubes were already in place, waiting for him to claim his reward. Brother Ju went to claim his reward for clearing the scenario. They were puzzle card, banana, and toilet card. He tried them out, but they could not form a set with the original puzzle card, strawberry, so he temporarily placed them in the storage. Then, he walked to the second glass tube, and the familiar interface appeared before his eyes. Please select your extra reward. 1. A random piece of equipment corresponding to your level. 2. 50,000 game coins, max. 3. 17 million EXP. That's 17 million EXP. Feng Bujue looked at the menu before him. At level 30, this amount of EXP should be enough for a player to level up 4 or 5 times. As he said that, he selected the equipment reward. The white light gathered, and the item slowly took form. Item name: the comic artist's tuxedo. Item type: armor. Quality: normal. Defense points: weak element. None. Special effect: it will always look as new as when it was purchased. Equip requirement: general ability mastery B, bound after pickup. Note: damn it, the standalone book sales are obviously good, and it even got a chance to be serialized in Weekly Youth Jump, but why wasn't it invited to the annual meeting? I even bought a tuxedo. Only after I bought it did I realize that the mangaka wasn't even on the invitation list. What the hell? Feng Bujue was shocked when he saw the item's description. Can this even be considered equipment? This was definitely not an item that was automatically generated by the system, right? What kind of programmer would do something like this? Was it done by the guy who designed the rotten egg skill? Leader, why don't you find such people to have a heart-to-heart talk with when you have nothing better to do? Without a doubt, this equipment could only be sold in the shop. Because its quality was normal, even the disintegrator would not accept it. Thus, after Brother Ju finished complaining, he took the items to the mall. Now, Feng Bujue was a superstar. At least in Thriller Paradise, his popularity was no less than the top celebrity players. Therefore, after some discussion with his friends, Brother Ju had changed the mall number that he was used to. Previously, the members of Underworld Frontline were active in Area 10 of the mall, but now they had moved to Area 101. This area was relatively at the back, so the number of people would be much smaller, and it could effectively prevent them from being surrounded. However, the number of people in the area was relatively small. The basic principle of the phase space was to separate the players who did not have a fixed area number and send them to the less populated areas. Therefore, as long as it was an area that existed, there would be at least 100 people in it. Look, the one in the purple suit. Could it be? Oh, is that Feng Bujue? Look closer. Recently, there have been people using this style everywhere. Even the hairstyle is similar to his. It's him. He looks just like the one I saw in the video. Oh? Is that so? Let me take a look. In person, there is nothing special about him. Don't be ridiculous. There are rumors that this person is a professional assassin in real life. How come I hear he is a patient at a mental hospital? Conversations like these came one after another, and they drilled into Feng Bujue's ears from all directions. Under the burning gaze of the nearby players and the whispers among themselves, Brother Ju walked quickly to the system shop. He took out his tuxedo, flashlight, and small mirror from his inventory. After selling these useless items, he quickly and quietly returned the way he came. Sigh. What is going on? After Feng Bujue returned to the login lobby, he sighed. Now I'm going to the mall like a thief. He scratched his head and tapped on the touch screen a few times. There have been a lot less harassing emails recently. Looks like the release of the new update has diverted the public's attention. He paused. But perhaps there are too many people on my blacklist? He was multitasking. As he deleted the spam, he started to think about what mode he should queue for next. Another nightmare. Fong Bujua looked at the screen and mumbled. Or. He deleted all the new emails and pulled up the mode selection interface. Now that I think about it, this new mode is quite interesting. With that in mind, Brother Ju had basically decided where he should go. After all, he was in sleeping mode, and he did not play in the morning, so he did not need to worry about the game going over the time limit in real life. Therefore, he had plenty of time to explore the world in free exploration mode. Fong Bujua, level 43, please select the game mode that you wish to join. You have selected free exploration mode. Every time you enter this mode, 20,000 game coins will be consumed. Please confirm. Confirmed, you have joined this mode for the first time. Currently searching for the multiverse. Search completed. Connecting to the multiverse. Downloading, please wait a moment. After that, the elevator started to move. Welcome to Thriller Paradise. This time, the opening was delivered by the system audio. Fong Bujua mumbled, "Isn't this no different from entering a normal scenario?" "There is no difference." Download complete. You are currently in free exploration mode. This mode does not have a quest system, no time limit, and no AFK-like effect. You can travel between the login lobby and the scenario world through the safe house. Every time you enter this mode, 20,000 game coins will be consumed. The scenario has started. Please leave this safe house in 5 minutes. At this point, the elevator door opened. Outside the door was a space that was shaped like a cave. The 4 walls and ceiling were made from irregular rocks, and there was a steel door embedded in the wall that faced the elevator. Naturally, the door was closed. There was a strange-looking device placed at the corner of the cave. It was about the size of a fridge, and there was a creaking sound coming from it. The thing looked like a generator. There were several cables that extended out from the bottom of it, and they were connected to the various simple lamps in the cave. Fong Bujua walked out of the elevator and looked around. There was nothing inside this so-called safe house. It was nothing more than a buffer zone that connected the login lobby and the door to the outside world. After he stepped into the safe house, a menu filled with words appeared before his eyes, and the subtitles started to scroll. Before you enter free exploration mode for the first time, please understand the following. A. When you walk out of the elevator, you have officially entered the scenario world. From that moment onward, returning to the elevator will be treated as leaving the scenario normally. B. You can only stay in the safe house for 5 minutes. Please leave the door or return to the login lobby within 5 minutes, or you will be forcibly teleported back to the login lobby. Similarly, you will be treated as leaving the scenario normally. C. If you leave the scenario outside the safe house, this includes but is not limited to being killed, forced to quit, or disconnected, your game coins, skill points, and EXP will be penalized accordingly. When you enter the scenario world again, you will return to the last recorded safe house. D. Within 1 hour, you can only pass through the door of the safe house once, regardless of whether you leave or enter. The skills or items that you use inside the safe house will not affect the people or items outside the safe house. E. You can bring items that are able to be brought out of this world into the safe house. If you need to bring a living creature into the safe house, please ensure that you have obtained the ownership of the creature and put it into your backpack first. F. All conscious entities in the scenario world, including the summoned creatures of the player, are not allowed to enter the safe house. For exceptions, please refer to Rule E.g. Every time you enter free exploration mode, you will spend 20,000 game coins. If you are not satisfied with the universe that you have been allocated to, or if you feel bored after a long period of exploration, you can use 500,000 game coins to redistribute the universe. They keep saying that I need to spend 20,000 game coins to enter the safe house. They've mentioned it 3 times already. Feng Bujue only used a few seconds to scan through all the hints before him. He had seen most of them in the update, and the rest could be found in the details, so he only skimmed through them before closing the menu. But, if that's not the case, it'll cause quite a lot of trouble, he said as he walked toward the door that led to the outside world. He had a point. For example, some players might try to walk back and forth in front of the elevator or hide inside the safe house to repeatedly farm their skills. Naturally, that would lead to them being teleported. Then, they would file a complaint for the loss of 20,000 game coins. Even though, in essence, it was these people who did not read the game manual that caused the loss, they would still stubbornly push the blame to others. These days, there were many people like that. Even if they were struck by lightning while walking on the street, they would still go to find an individual or organization to file a lawsuit to try and recoup their losses. As expected, there's no lock. Feng Bujue walked to the door that led to the outside world and looked at the thick steel door. There was only one doorknob on the door. There was no keyhole, and it could be opened with a twist. That's true. After all, things from the outside world can't come in. He twisted the doorknob and pulled the door open. Outside the door, there was a long and narrow passageway. There were rocks all around, but there was no lighting equipment outside. At a glance, they couldn't see the end of the passageway. Brother Ju did not hesitate to take out the compound anti-gravity gun from his inventory. After turning on the searchlight at the front, he walked forward. Just as he took a few steps forward, he heard 2 consecutive bangs. He turned back to look, and the door to the safe house had automatically closed. There was a mark drawn on the side of the steel door that faced the outside, and it was drawn right in the middle of the door. The mark was very simple. It was a circle with the word shock inside it. I'll give it a try. Feng Bujue did not complain about the mark. Instead, he turned back, took 2 steps forward, and used his hand to grab the doorknob again. Sorry, you have entered this door recently. Please try again after 34 seconds. The system prompt and the subtitles appeared at the same time, but the doorknob did not move. Okay, Feng Bujue said casually. After that, he placed the compound anti-gravity gun on the ground. Then, he shouted at the air before him. At the same time, he threw out both of his fists in a pincer attack. After unleashing the first wild ball punch, he fell into deep thought. Since this mode has no time limit and negative judgment, why don't I just sit here and unleash 1 punch every hour? He calculated in his heart. If that's the case, I'll level up once in 59 hours. In real life, it'll only take me 5 hours and 54 minutes. That's about 1 night in the game. If that's the case, after training for 10 nights, I'll be invincible. After this thought flashed through his mind, he immediately shook his head. TSK, how is that possible? Indeed, for Feng Bujue, such a possibility was impossible. He was an adventurous person, a person who could not stay idle. For him, boredom was worse than any punishment. Besides, that kind of behavior was not a person playing the game, it was the game that was playing the person. He was not a professional player, so why should he suffer like this? Sigh. Life is so tiring. Let's go. Brother Ju said to himself. He picked up the compound anti-gravity gun from the ground and moved forward. The rocky passage ahead was rugged and winding, and it was much longer than he expected. Fortunately, he had all the equipment and skills he needed, so he was not afraid of anything. Even if he encountered a predator, he was confident that he could fight it. Speaking of which, this mode is really free, Feng Bujue said as he walked. There's not even a synopsis. Theoretically, I could have been shrunk N times, crawling in some kind of insect's nest. He paused. Or maybe I'm on some alien planet. Just as he was pondering, suddenly. Chapter 521. All of a sudden, a strange light shone in the distance. Feng Bujue immediately turned off the lighting device in his hand and looked into the distance. At the end of the dark and narrow corridor, a scarlet spot was particularly eye-catching. "Is that the exit?" Brother Ju said. "Red light? I feel like there's a conspiracy." He slowed down slightly and slowly approached the entrance of the cave. Not long after, he felt an obvious heat flow in his face. Because the slope of the corridor was slightly downward, the location of the safe house was below the surface and the temperature was lower. Now that he was close to the entrance of the cave, the temperature suddenly rose to about 35 degrees. "If this is the general temperature of this world, it's going to be difficult," Feng Bujue said. Actually, it was not difficult. When he said this sentence, he already had a countermeasure in his mind. The easiest way was to buy another set of spare clothes. In the future, when he entered the free exploration mode, he could change into another set of clothes before entering. With Brother Ju's personality, it was very likely that he would spend a very low cost to make a set of Fire Cloud Evil God suit with a vest, shorts, and flip-flops. With that kind of design, it would be fine even if it was 40 degrees. Whoosh! When Feng Bujue just arrived at the entrance of the cave, a hot wind swept by. The heat was like the lid of a steamer being opened, and he couldn't help but take a few steps back. Sigh. It's really a desert. Feng Bujue looked at the endless rolling yellow sand in front of him and sighed. Although he was mentally prepared, when he saw it with his own eyes, he was still quite disappointed. He would rather be randomly sent to a universe where Skynet and humans fought in the apocalypse than be assigned to a place where even birds don't shit. But reality once again proved that life was not as you wished. "Okay. I can't give up hope," Feng Bujue said as he covered his mouth and nose with his gloves, stepped out of the corridor, and stepped into the endless desert. Maybe this is a corner of the DC or Marvel universe. This sentence was indeed his inner thoughts. The universes that Feng Bujue wanted to go to the most were undoubtedly these two universes that were filled with superheroes. First of all, he had a very comprehensive understanding of the two universes, such as the personalities, abilities, and weaknesses of the main characters, as well as the major events that were about to happen or had already happened. He knew everything like the back of his hand. Secondly, these two cosmoses were abnormally rich in resources. Advanced technology, magic, genetic derivatives of mutated humans, aliens, and even cosmos gods could be exploited. In addition, there were some personal reasons. Brother Ju had always wanted to do a few things, such as bankrupting Batman, traveling to the planets of the Yellow Lantern Corps, talking about life with Dr. Manhattan, taking off Dr. Destruction's mask, listening to King Blackbat sing, turning Tony Stark into a woman, and so on. It could be said that these two universes were like treasure troves. The stronger the player's ability, the more benefits they could obtain. Moreover, these benefits were almost inexhaustible. However, it turned out that Brother Ju was overthinking things. Why would the system send him to such a good place? General, the drone in the third experimental zone seems to have captured something. Switch the image to the main screen. Yes, sir. Is that an Earthling? According to the appearance database, there is an 84% chance that it is an Earthling, a 10% chance that it is an alien, and a 6% chance that it is some other shape-shifting species. Humph. No matter what it is, capture it first. Understood. Attention, First Team. An unknown intruder has appeared 50 kilometers to the west of the base. Please capture it immediately. Looking at Feng Bujue, he had no idea that he had been targeted. At that moment, he was sprinting through the desert. Brother Ju had just realized that the special effect of Void Tread was just as effective on sand. Therefore, for him, running through the desert was easier than walking. It was like running on flat ground. No matter what, as my first safe house in this world, it can't be located in a deserted environment where I won't run into anyone for days. Brother Ju thought as he ran. If that's the case, I might have to leave the scenario due to game time before I find the next safe house. He licked his dry lips. Running in a straight line like this, I'll definitely run into something. Even if I can't walk out of the desert, I should at least find a camp or an oasis. In just 10 minutes, his clothes were soaked in sweat, and the high temperature caused the water in his body to drain rapidly. Even though the players did not need to eat or drink in the scenario, the feeling of fatigue and discomfort would cause a drain on their stamina points. When their stamina points dropped to 0, their life points would be threatened. Therefore, the environment was the player's enemy. The sun here makes me worry as well. Feng Bujue raised his head to look at the sky. The color is obviously different from the sun that I know, and I wonder how strong the ultraviolet light is. If this is not Earth, then it's hard to tell how the celestial bodies move. Perhaps the sun here won't set for another 50 hours, or the temperature at night will be higher than in the day, or perhaps it's actually night and the red thing in the sky is actually the moon. Without realizing it, his mind started to wander, and he started to fill in the blanks in his mind. In a normal scenario, due to the limitation of the mission, time, and map, Feng Bujue did not have the chance to understand the details of the world. But in free exploration mode, exploration was the focus. The players could abandon the normal scenario and explore endless possibilities. Because in this mode there was no so-called goal, and the players did not have to follow the routine of killing monsters to level up and obtain equipment. If they wanted to, they could even run for president. Of course, every once in a while they would have to leave this world. Click, click. Click, click. Suddenly, a sound came from behind a sand dune to the left of Brother Ju. It sounded like the footsteps of a large animal. Feng Bujue turned toward the sound and saw a few large metallic heads poking out from behind the sand dune. Robots! Feng Bujue's first reaction was, Transformers. But after a few seconds, he realized that was not right. The cockpits of the large mechas were transparent and were located at the stomach of the mecha. There were pilots inside the cockpit. This was in broad daylight, so Brother Ju's eyesight was extremely good. He focused and realized that the pilots were not human. Even though their body shape was similar to a human's, their shoulders were strange. These creatures' shoulders were raised high, and the highest point was close to their temples. Their armpits were about the same level as their neck. Since these people were all wearing the same green uniform and helmet, for now, Feng Bujue could only see the difference of bone structure. If he observed them from a close distance, the difference between them and normal humans would be even greater. Look closer. Their bodies also have the shape of an M on their shoulders. Feng Bujue stopped moving and waited for the other party's reaction. Earthling, cross your arms in front of your chest. Stand there and don't move. One of the mecha pilots warned Feng Bujue. The voice was obviously amplified and came from a part of the mecha, so Feng Bujue could hear it clearly even though he was standing more than 10 meters away. Ah, they really are aliens. Brother Ju followed the instructions and crossed his arms in front of his chest. Wait, from their point of view, I'm the alien. He began to observe the other's actions with great interest. He began to speculate in his mind. For example, this race's technological level, cultural level, social structure, reproduction method, reporting to base, this is Team 1. I'm the team leader, Jijiji. The target seems to be able to understand our language and has not made any obvious moves to resist. Jijiji spoke into the communicator in the lead mecha. Can we proceed with capture strategy number 3? Over. After a short moment of silence, the base replied, Yes, please be careful. Jijiji, over. After receiving approval from the higher-ups, Jijiji turned on the loudspeaker and said to Brother Ju, Earthling, you are under arrest. Please cooperate with us and do not make any unnecessary resistance. Feng Bujue stood still and did not move at all. He really wanted to cooperate with the other's actions, but he did not know what to do. What should I do? Brother Jew pondered. If it was on Earth, the regular army would usually ask the subdued to put their hands behind their head and kneel on the ground. But here, they asked me to stand with my arms crossed. Of course, this is understandable. With their skeletal structure, it would be difficult for them to put their hands behind their head. His gaze wandered as he counted the number of mecha in front of him. There were a total of 11 mecha. Based on this train of thought, in the eyes of this race, bowing might be equivalent to contempt, nodding might be equivalent to mockery, smiling might be equivalent to anger, touching legs is sexual harassment. Oh wait, touching legs on Earth is also click click, click click. GGG's mecha came forward and approached Brother Jew. The mecha was about 10 meters tall, and its body shape was similar to its operator's, a humanoid with high shoulders. Stand on the robot's palm, GGG said as he controlled the mecha to extend its hand. Feng Bujue did as he was told without hesitation. The moment he stood on it, the robot's palm began to change shape. In 2 seconds it became a spherical cage. GGG let out a sigh of relief. He adjusted his tone and said seriously, I am 2nd Lieutenant Gigi of the Shrugged Shoulders Army. I now officially announce that you are under arrest for stealing military secret. Alright. As the saying goes, adapt to the circumstances. Feng Bujue laughed at himself. Chapter 522. To be honest, after being locked in the cage, Feng Bujue felt a lot more at ease. If he was on Earth, he would have been handcuffed and put on a prison wagon. This was the difference between a prisoner in custody and a fugitive. A prisoner in custody was equivalent to being under control. As long as he did not resist violently, the law enforcement officers had to ensure his safety. However, it was different for a fugitive. Any movement could lead to death. At this point, Feng Bujue dared to communicate with the other party more boldly. He immediately shouted, Hey! Where am I? What planet was this? Are you talking about the Shrugged Star? The translation function of the system would solve any language problems. Regardless of whether the players spoke classical Chinese, idioms, or dialect slang, the system would be able to accurately convey the meaning to others. There was no need to worry about the words not conveying the meaning. You have no right to ask questions, intruder, GGG replied. If you have anything to say it to the person interrogating you. I'm Jia. Capture Plan 3 has been completed. Team 1 requests to return to base. Over. Jia reported the situation through the communicator. Permission granted. Over. This time, the reply came very quickly. Thus, GGG led the 11 mechas of the first squad back to their military base. Feng Bujue stood on the robot's palm and waited silently. Although he didn't have to run anymore, he didn't feel good at all. Because the robot's palm was made of metal and had long been scorched by the sun, the temperature in the palm cage was no lower than the temperature outside. The red sunlight shone through the gaps and roasted Brother Jew, who was wearing a long suit. He really felt like he was playing teppanyaki. He called himself a 2nd lieutenant in the army, which means that I didn't meet the police, but the military. Feng Bujue could only think to distract himself. It's too far-fetched to say that I stole military secrets. This is a vast desert, what secrets could there be? He exhaled a breath of hot air. Oh, weapon testing grounds. That makes sense. It's getting hotter and hotter. Brother Jew pulled on his collar and there was smoke coming out of it. Look at these people wearing thick uniforms and helmet. They must have invented something like air conditioner in their technology. He wiped away the droplets of sweat that flowed from his forehead to his eyes. What if these people are born with a natural heat resistance, and the machines on this planet are also heat resistant? Then I will be in deep trouble. Thinking of this, he suddenly thought of something. That's right. Although I can't take off my clothes, what if the people on this planet want to take off my clothes? For example, they want to dissect me for research purposes. Unfortunately, he was still thinking too much. With the existence of the system, this kind of thing would definitely not happen. About 10 minutes later, a desert fortress appeared in Brother Jew's vision. It was a very magnificent building with a height of more than 50 meters. The shape of the building could be clearly described in one sentence: it was a huge M. Where should I start? Fong Bujue threw a wild ball punch into the air and muttered softly, "I'm afraid it's impossible to avoid a famous fast food brand. Team 1 has returned. Requesting to enter the base. Over." Jie used the communicator to contact the base again. "Entrance number 3 is ready. Please enter from there. Over." "Understood." Jie replied. Not long after, the 11 mechas majestically rushed towards the pillar on the right side of M. When they arrived in front of the fortress, the mechas of Squad 1 all stopped. Accompanied by the loud rumbling of machinery, a large door in front of them slowly opened. This door was obviously designed for large vehicles to pass through. After it opened, there was a sloping asphalt runway that led underground. Led by Jie, the mechas of Squad 1 entered in a single file. After that, the door behind them closed again. The red sunlight was finally blocked out and was replaced by white strips of light on both sides of the runway. Phew! Fong Bujue let out a long sigh of relief. So that's how it is where the sun doesn't reach. Even without air conditioning, the temperature will be much lower. After walking for a while, they reached the end of the runway. It was a semicircular space that was as big as 3 football fields. On the arc of this semicircular space, there were 6 tunnel entrances of different shapes that extended into 6 runways. On the other side of the straight line, there were 4 giant mechanical doors that were tens of meters tall. The 4 doors were marked with 4 strange symbols. When Brother Jew's gaze landed on the symbols, the corresponding text appeared in the system's translation. In fact, the 4 symbols were equivalent to the Arabic numerals 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, these words look interesting. Fong Bujue did not seem to understand his situation at all. He was still interested in studying the alien characters to see if there were any rules to follow. It was as if he wanted to learn another foreign language here. Second Lieutenant Jie and all members of Squad 1 are here to report. Officer was wearing a green uniform and a strange pointed hat. He raised 3 fingers on his right hand, there were only 3 fingers in total, and patted his forehead. "Well done, Second Lieutenant. Leave the rest to me." "Yes, sir." Jie mimicked the officer's action. It looked like this gesture was equivalent to the salute of the Star Troopers. After responding, Jie sat back in the pilot's seat and pressed a few buttons on the control panel. Then, the palm cage around Fong Bujue transformed and expanded. In the next second, 4 armed Star Troopers surrounded Brother Jew. At this moment, Fong Bujue could clearly see the appearance of these Star Troopers. When he looked at them up close, he could see that other than the height of their shoulders, their faces were also very different from humans. The Star Troopers' faces were not flat like humans' faces. Instead, they were like fish, narrow in the middle and wide on both sides. They had 2 eyes that were bulging high on both sides of their cheeks. At first glance, it was obvious that they were creatures with a very wide field of vision, if they were not blocked by their own shoulders. Their noses, which looked like noses, did not have an obvious nasal bridge. There were about a dozen extremely small nostrils distributed at the front of their narrow faces. The shape was a bit like the small holes on a telephone receiver. Their mouths were not much different from humans, but because of the shape of their faces, their mouths appeared to be wider. Fong Bujue looked for a while, and did not find any ear-like organs on the Star Troopers' heads. He pondered. The Star Troopers' hearing organs were likely to be at the back of the head or in other parts of the body. Because the two sides of the head were covered by the shoulders, from an evolutionary point of view, the ears should not be on the two sides of the head. Earthling, you can understand our language, right? The officer said. Feng Bujue stood in place and did not move. He calmly replied, yes. After he finished looking at the appearance of these aliens, he began to quietly observe their weapons. The 4 soldiers around him were all holding metal objects and posing as if they were ready to shoot at any time. The guns in the hands of these star troopers were very similar to the same products on Earth, but the shape was still slightly different. The eyes, the angle between the neck and shoulders, the length of the arms, and the number of fingers of the shrugged shoulder aliens were different from humans. These factors affected the shooting habits of the species when using weapons, which would also affect the shape of the guns. Oh? You actually know how to speak our language? The officer was slightly surprised as he read. I'm sorry, sir. He did say a few words to us after he was arrested, but I didn't report it. It's all right, Second Lieutenant. The officer looked up and replied. Then, he turned to Brother Jew and said, Looks like you're a veteran spy, Earthling. Feng Bujue had watched a lot of spy movies. He immediately made a very sharp reaction, humph. First, it was a cold snort, then a contemptuous look. May I ask what your military rank is? The officer sneered. I am a colonel of the Shrugged Star Army. I am Huahua. He paused for a moment. I wonder. Who are you, sir? Ha! Feng Bujue laughed. His expression was stern. Let your superior talk to me. Huahua paced back and forth. He looked up and down at Brother Jew. Hey, you're a prisoner. He spat on the ground. The saliva of the shrugged star troopers was crystal clear. You're quite arrogant, aren't you? Humph. Feng Bujue raised his head but didn't say anything. His subtext was, I have nothing to say to someone of your level. Good. Stubborn to the end. Huahua stared at Brother Jew and nodded slightly. You've got guts. He waved at the soldiers. Take him to the interrogation room. Before he finished, the soldier standing behind Brother Jew pushed him and shouted, Let's go! What are you pushing me for? Feng Bujue suddenly flipped out and shouted. This sudden, almost hysterical roar scared the soldier. I can walk on my own. 2 seconds later, Feng Bujue added. Then, with his head held high, he swaggered away. Huahua took a deep breath to calm his anger. He adjusted his collar, gave a few orders to the members of the first unit, and then left with the group of soldiers. Perhaps some might be confused. Before Brother Jew was captured, he had been so peaceful, so why would he suddenly become so lawless after he was captured? This was the saying, times have changed. Earlier, Feng Bujue was extremely lacking in information, so he put on a cooperative attitude. But now that he knew some of the basic settings of the scenario, the situation was very different. When he first entered the world of the scenario, Feng Bujue knew nothing about the setting of this world. At the time, he didn't dare offend anyone. This was because he was an extreme person. His philosophy was, if I stepped on a cockroach, and the cockroach happened to be the pet of this world's supreme god, then I would have to burn 500,000 game coins to teach it a lesson. But now, Brother Jew had a certain level of contact with the people of the shrugged shoulders, and he knew what to do. He was confident that with his combat ability, he could do whatever he wanted in this base. His basis was simple, because the weapons in the hands of the soldiers and the mechas showed that this was a planet that was heavily technologically advanced. A race that was technologically advanced would not have that much physical combat ability. The universe was fair. Either you were technologically advanced, physically strong, or skilled in magic. This was not a choice but a choice of evolution. If a race could blow up a star with one punch, then why would they research things like pistols and missiles? If a race could use magic to teleport to any corner of the universe, then why would they research spaceships? Technology was to serve its inventor. Without demand, there would be no technology. Therefore, Feng Bujue could conclude that the combat ability of the people of the shrugged shoulders was very limited. Even if they were stronger than normal humans, they would not be that much stronger. If their fists and feet were faster than bullets, then why would they need guns? Screech. The electronic door of the interrogation room slowly opened, and the next second, Feng Bujue was pushed into the room. A rustling figure appeared at the door. "Wait here for a while, big shot." Then he scoffed and turned to leave. A soldier in the corridor then pressed a button on the control panel next to the door. The device made a soft beep and the electronic door closed. Inside the interrogation room, Brother Ju was left alone. This is interesting. Feng Bujue turned around and started to observe the environment. There were no windows in this room, and there was no obvious ventilation. There was only one door to the outside, and it was the electronic door that had just been closed. The upper half of the wall opposite the door was a large, flat, and smooth mirror. "This is a one-way glass, is it?" Feng Bujue walked to the mirror wall and knocked twice on the surface of the mirror. "This place is becoming more and more like a spy movie from the previous century," he mumbled. "There are no cameras in the corners of the room." He walked to the middle of the room, where there was a table and 2 chairs. They were all made from metal, and they were nailed to the ground so that they could not be moved. There are no cameras on the table and chairs either. He sat down and raised his head. The light comes from the ceiling, and the lamps are not installed inside the room. Not bad. This will prevent the criminals from destroying the lighting and using the broken glass as a weapon. Brother Ju put his hands behind his head, crossed his legs, and sighed. Although there are no vents, the air conditioning is very comfortable. Chapter 523. After a while, the door of the interrogation room opened again. A man of Planet Shrugged, who was nearly 2 meters tall, the average height of Planet Shrugged was similar to humans, and wearing a military uniform, Planet Shrugged was also divided into 2 genders, walked in. After he entered the room, he was not in a hurry to speak, nor did he approach Feng Bujue. He just stood at the door and waited quietly for a few seconds until the electronic door behind him closed again before he stepped forward. "I heard, you want to talk to me?" He took a few steps forward and stood by the table, looking at Brother Ju, who was sitting across the table, and said in a deep voice, "Then, say something." He paused and said in a slightly sarcastic tone, "Big shot." Feng Bujue looked up at him for 2 seconds and replied with a smile, "Who are you?" "Planet Shrugged's Army Lieutenant General, he replied. He. Feng Bujue laughed dryly and thought to himself, "There must be a lot of people with the same name in your race. Don't try to get close to me, you spy," he replied. When General he said this, Brother Ju realized that his laughter was part of the other party's name. "I want to ask," Feng Bujue said, "do people from your planet all have the same syllables as their names?" He replied, "That's right. Do you have a problem with that?" Earthling. "Then aren't there a lot of people with the same name?" Feng Bujue asked. "Humph." He snorted and sat in the chair opposite Brother Ju. "Listen, Earthling, I'm sitting down to talk to you now because I think you're valuable. If this is your attitude, then I don't mind using another method to ask." His expression changed, it seemed to be a threatening expression. "Now put away your tourist-style questions and tell me your name, military rank, and unit you belong to. Tell me everything, or else." "I'm a superhero from Earth," Feng Bujue replied immediately. When he said this sentence, his expression did not change and his heart did not skip a beat. Even humans would not be able to see any trace of lying on his face, let alone a Planet Shrug. In a battle with a super criminal, I was forcibly transported. Brother Ju came up with a set of excuses he made up in the last few minutes. When I came back to my senses, I was already in a desert. He heard this and was silent for a few seconds. His eyes seemed to be looking at the mirror behind Brother Jew. After a while, he said, "Do you think I'll believe this?" "It doesn't matter if you believe it or not." Feng Bujue pointed at the mirror behind him. "As long as the person behind the glass believes it, it's fine." His expression changed significantly at this moment. Brother Jew saw this and was more convinced of his speculation. He continued to say, "You're not a lieutenant general. In my opinion, your rank is lower than the colonel I saw earlier." He touched his chin and said, "Let's remove the acting elements. Inferring from your body shape, temperament, habits, and other aspects, you're very likely to be a security company commander around a high-ranking officer." Feng Bujue tilted his head and looked at the mirror behind him. "Of course, if I were a general, I'd make the same choice." When he said this, he stood up. He also reacted in an instant. He jumped up and took the opportunity to get ready for a fight. "Don't be nervous," Feng Bujue said. "This chair isn't very comfortable to sit on. I'll stand up and take a walk." He smiled. "After all, this is an interrogation room. I can't ask you to bring in a sofa." "You'd better not be too presumptuous." His face was ferocious. It seemed like Brother Jew's talent for attracting hatred was universal in any corner of the universe. "From the moment I met your first team, until I was sent to this interrogation room." Feng Bujue ignored the other party's threat and continued to say, "Throughout the whole process, no one came to search me." He paced back and forth in front of the mirror. "At least on Earth. This is a very unreasonable situation. What if I'm hiding some kind of powerful explosive device on me? Wouldn't it be dangerous to bring me back to the base?" He smiled and said, "Although there are many theoretical possibilities, such as you are generally not very smart, or the concept of death on this planet is different from Earth, and so on. But the most reasonable inference is undoubtedly, you are convinced that I don't have any dangerous goods on me." Brother Jew licked his lips and looked at the mirror. He fixed his hair that was out of shape due to sweat. "I think on your large mechas, at the various junctions of the base, and..." He tapped on the glass in front of him again. "Behind this one-way glass, there are very advanced metal detectors installed." At this point, he turned around and looked at He. "But, even though you know that I have nothing but some magazines on me, you still didn't let your guard down. So, you let this very skilled soldier pretend to be a lieutenant general and come to talk to me. Even if I suddenly do something extremely dangerous, the real general won't be hurt." Buzz buzz buzz. Before Feng Bujue could finish his sentence, there was a sudden buzzing sound. The mirror in the room turned into a transparent glass in 2 seconds. Brother Jew looked sideways. On the other side of the glass there was another room. The room was larger than the interrogation room, and there were many instruments inside. At this moment, the real Lieutenant General He was standing on the other side of the glass, looking at Feng Bujue. "You come back first, He, the general said. His words were clearly transmitted into the interrogation room. "Yes, sir." The officer who called himself He but was actually He responded and immediately walked to the door. When the electronic door of the interrogation room opened, he retreated. "Earthling, you seem to be a smart aleck," the general on the other side of the glass said to Brother Jew, "but I'm not a 3-year-old kid. Even if you have some smarts and can make some decent deductions, it doesn't change the situation." He paused for a moment. "You say that you are a superhero on Earth. That's fine, but it's just empty words. I need evidence." Feng Bujue didn't say anything. He pretended to snap his fingers, and in the next second, there was a shiny poker card in his hand. "Humph!" the general sneered. "This only proves that you are a magician." His smile quickly froze on his face. Screech! There was an extremely nasty sound. Brother Jew directly used death poker to cut the glass in front of him, creating a sound similar to fingernails scratching the glass. How is this possible? General Hehe hurriedly took a few steps back. The staff sitting next to the console also stood up and retreated to the wall. Hehe, who had just returned to the opposite room, and a few soldiers who were originally in the room picked up their weapons and aimed in the direction of the glass, ready to shoot at any time. It's really an impressive product. Feng Bujue quickly cut an oval opening in the glass in front of him. He looked at the edge of the opening and said, "It's 3 centimeters thick. There are a lot of nano-level mechanical components between the 2 layers of crystal. It looks like it's a piece of high-tech equipment." He guessed right. This glass, that separated the console room and the interrogation room, was very expensive and advanced military equipment for the people of the shrugged shoulders. It was more expensive than a tank. This surveillance board could not only transmit and adjust unidirectional visual and auditory signals, but it also had the function of a surveillance camera and metal scanner. Most importantly, this board was extremely resistant to pressure. Even if someone self-destructed in the interrogation room, which had happened before, it would not affect the people in the console room next door. Therefore, when the people of the shrugged shoulders saw Brother Ju cut this thing open with a glowing poker card, the shock was self-evident. "Look, this is the strength of a superhero," Feng Bujue said to the people in the next room through the hole he cut. "Don't move. Put down the weapons in your hands." He stood in front with a gun and pointed at Brother Ju across the hole. Feng Bujue smiled and waved his hand. The poker card in his hand disappeared. "I told you not to be nervous." He tilted his head and looked at the general who was protected behind the soldiers. "I don't mean any harm, and I'm not a spy. In fact, my understanding of the people of the shrugged shoulders is very limited. You can indeed treat me as a tourist." He shrugged and spread out his hands. "As long as you don't threaten my personal safety or restrict my freedom, I have no reason to hurt you. Put down the gun, he. General He pushed the soldiers in front of him away, walked forward, and pressed down the muzzle of He's gun. "Okay. I believe you." He adjusted his military uniform. "May I know your name?" After he asked this question, he immediately corrected himself. "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Superheroes use code names. May I know who you are?" "Poker Man," Feng Bujue blurted out. "Oh, I see," General He replied. Misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding." His tone softened. "Since you are a superhero, how about this? I'll help you contact the Universal Superhero Alliance and ask them to send someone to bring you back to Earth." "What?" Feng Bujue was shocked. Is there something wrong?" General He asked. "No. It's nothing," Feng Bujue quickly replied. But internally, he was thinking, no way. Are there really superheroes in this scenario world? And there's even a Universal Superhero Alliance? Have you not heard of the existence of the Universal Superhero Alliance? The surprise in his tone earlier was too obvious. Even though they were of different races, General He saw through it. Because I just became a hero not long ago, and my power is very average." Feng Bujue saw the suspicion in the general's eyes, so he continued to lie. "Basically, I'm just a nobody." "Oh, I see." General He continued, "That's fine too. Anyway, when the people from the Alliance arrive, you can directly ask them about the relevant matters." After he finished speaking, he turned around and whispered a few words to a soldier behind him. Even though Brother Ju stood far away, he heard it clearly. General He really did order his subordinate to contact the Universal Superhero Alliance. Long story short, a few minutes later, Feng Bujue was invited to a resting room to wait. After that, he felt like he was sitting on pins and needles. This is going to be complicated. Initially, I just wanted to make up an unverifiable reason to cover up the fact that I'm in a secret military zone on another planet. But now it's going to lead to a big development. From the general's reaction, superheroes have a high status in this universe. At least the people from Shrugged Planet are friendly toward them. I wonder what kind of people I'll meet later. What if a Manhattan-level demigod comes and finds out that I'm a traveler from another dimension and sees me as a threat? That's not good. According to General He, the regular government forces of all the planets in the Milky Way Federation could contact the Universal Superhero Alliance. As long as there was a valid reason, the other party would basically agree to any request. Someone would definitely come within one universe week, approximately 1 hour. Depending on the urgency of the situation, this time could be shortened. However, Feng Bujue's situation was not very urgent. To use an analogy, it was basically like sending a lost alien home. If Brother Ju was an ordinary person from Earth, he would be sent back to Earth. Of course, he might be silenced. After going through a strict investigation by the people from Shrugged Planet and confirming that he was not a spy. But at this moment, since he had revealed his identity as a superhero and displayed his superpowers, the nature of the situation had changed. Feng Bujue guessed correctly. Superheroes had a very high status in this universe. They were roughly equivalent to the Universal Security Bureau. There were a series of very complicated settings. I won't talk about it here. Let's go back to the story. Screech. The electronic door of the resting room opened. Under General Her's lead, 2 men in tights walked in. The man in front was about 1.8 meters tall. He wore a white tights with purple and gold stripe. He also wore an eye mask that was the same color as his clothes. This person had a head of black curly hair, brown skin, and no beard. Because he was wearing tights, it was very clear that this person's body shape was exactly the same as a human's. It seemed that he was also a hero from Earth. The person walking behind had similar physical characteristics as the person in front. He was also a brown-skinned human, but he had a beard. The other thing was that his tights were blue and white. Let me introduce you. General He brought the 2 men in front of Brother Ju. Feng Bujue was unprecedentedly nervous. He broke out in a cold sweat. His gaze swept across the faces of the 2 men in front of him. He saw 2 pairs of eyes full of righteousness. At that moment, he thought to himself, I feel uncomfortable all over. Since ancient times, good and evil have not coexisted. He inexplicably classified himself as evil. This is Poker Man. General He gestured with his hand. Feng Bujue stood up from the sofa and squeezed out a painful smile. Hello, this little brother is new here. In fact, I just casually picked a name, made a set of Chunibu clothes, and came out to be a hero. I haven't found an organization yet. Hey, you don't have to be so polite, young man. The man in the lead said heartily. As long as you have a heart that pursues justice, the door of the Universe Superhero Alliance will always be open for you. PFFF. Feng Bujue suddenly puffed up his cheeks, his whole face flushed red. He roared in his heart, Hey! What's with this Indian accent? Are you kidding me? You're obviously serious, but you can make it sound so funny. Well said. General He gestured to the superhero who spoke. This is a well-known hero from the Cheat Planet who has recently been very active in the North area, break dancer. This sentence was like a sledgehammer, hitting Brother Ju's heart. Hey! He almost shouted. Due to excessive restraint, his whole body slumped on the sofa. He appeared. Such a strange fellow had appeared just like that. Isn't this a character that I casually made up? Does he really exist? Is this kind of universe really okay? No wonder it's an Indian setting. Speaking of which, I didn't imagine this guy's image at all. Did the script automatically fill in the gaps? And this is his partner. General He gestured to the man in the blue and white tights and continued, Kick the strange guest. Sure enough, it's you. Feng Bujue continued to roast loudly in his heart. The universe is finished. It's completely finished. I'd better change to another world as soon as possible. A desert is not bad. Let me run freely towards the setting sun in the desert with a temperature of 40 degrees. Oh, I've heard about it, Poker Man. Kick. The strange guest stepped forward and spoke with the same Indian accent. You were involved in a space-time storm after confronting a super criminal. After countless adventures and tests, you finally broke through the dimension and came to Planet Shrugged's shoulder, opened a space crack in the desert, and successfully returned to this world, right? It's really amazing. It's really amazing. This kind of content that inexplicably appeared out of nowhere is simply tyrannical, cool, and awesome. It's basically that guy with the surname Her who added fuel to the fire. You might as well say that I'm Ultraman. That way, it'll be easier for me to cover up my lies. Wouldn't it be better to just say Xia Xia and fool them? Feng Bujua roared in his heart. I really want to become light. Become light. Become light. Light, ah. What's wrong with you? Breakdancer looked at Brother Jew and said, Poker Man? Why aren't you saying anything? When they saw Feng Bujua sitting on the sofa with a pale face and not saying a word, they thought something was wrong with him. Hee, nothing. Feng Bujua replied. Just a little distracted. Chapter 524. After some small talk, Feng Bujua followed the two strange heroes. Accompanied by General Ho and a few soldiers, they soon arrived at hangar number 4 of the base. This hangar was filled with many standard mechas from Planet Shrugged Shoulders. Among these mechas, there was a small spaceship that was obviously different in design and color. The spaceship's length, width, and height were about 16 meters, and its overall shape was like a shoe without an upper. The main color of the spaceship was ocean blue, and the secondary color was orange. On the side of the spaceship, there was a line of black text. The system's translation of the text was, Universal Superhero Alliance. This should be some kind of language that is widely recognized in the universe. Feng Bujua looked at the untranslated version of the text and thought to himself, speaking of which, the setting of this scenario is much more complicated than I thought. I wonder how many countries and intelligent races there are in this so-called Milky Way Federation. What is the diplomatic status of the various planets? How is the technological exchange? When Brother Jew was still thinking, the group reached the side of the spaceship. Then, General Ha and the other shrugged shoulders aliens stopped moving. The general immediately said, Then, I'll stop here. He paused. The runway has been cleared, so you can leave at any time. Thank you again for everything you've done for me, General. Feng Bujua still thanked General Ha politely. You're welcome, Poker Man, General Ha replied. Superheroes are the protectors of the universe, so it's natural for us to support you. After a few more pleasantries, Brother Jew finally bade farewell to the shrugged shoulders aliens and boarded the spaceship driven by the two superheroes. The interior of the spaceship was not that weird. In fact, it looked no different from a sci-fi movie. The corridors, doors, and seats were all designed according to human size. The two heroes led Feng Bujua to the front of the spaceship. They arranged for him to sit in the third pilot seat and reminded him to put on his seatbelt. You're quite lucky, Poker Man. Breakdancer turned on the spaceship's operating system and said, The climate of Planet Shrugged is similar to Earth. He paused for a moment. If you land on a planet with a dangerous environment and no intelligent life forms, it will be dangerous. Yeah, Feng Bujua replied. If I was sent to a planet without an atmosphere, I would be dead. That was true, but he knew very well that kind of situation did not exist. The system would not send players into an environment where death was certain. Therefore, this wasn't luck, it was a necessity. By the way, Poker Man, Step's strange guest turned back and asked, You haven't registered with the Alliance yet, right? I'm ashamed to say this. Brother Jew pretended to be embarrassed and replied, I just found out today, there's an organization called the Universal Superhero Alliance. You really don't know anything. Step's strange guest laughed. That's good, isn't it? Breakdancer continued. At least it proves that Poker Man became a hero purely for the sake of justice. As soon as this remark came out, Feng Bujue's expression changed slightly. He instantly caught a hint of meaning in Breakdancer's words. That means. Brother Ju thought to himself. There are some people who didn't become heroes for the sake of justice. Seems like there's something to be gained. Although he was calculating in his mind, he still acted as if nothing had happened. He replied in a calm tone, Then, are there any requirements to apply to join the alliance? If possible, I would also like to join your organization. Well, if you want to join, of course there are requirements, Step's strange guest replied. Step's strange guest replied, but you don't have to be too nervous. I heard from General Hehehe that you can easily destroy the super metal on their planet with your superpower. With your power level, it shouldn't be a problem to get the basic hero qualification. While they were talking, Thunderbolt Dancer had already finished the preparations for departure. He picked up a walkie-talkie, adjusted the frequency, and said, Oh, General, this is Thunderbolt Dancer. Our spaceship is ready to depart. Requesting departure. Roger, please use runway 3 outside the hangar. The gate at the intersection is open and the navigation lights are ready. General He's voice quickly sounded from the communication device. Understood. Thank you again for your cooperation, General. While they were talking, the spaceship had already started moving. The rumbling sound rang in Feng Bujue's ears. The huge power generated by the thrusters could be felt directly by his body. It was then that Brother Ju realized that he was about to experience the first space flight in his life. Although it was in the virtual world, it was enough to make people excited. Then you can come back to the Alliance with us, Poker Man. Breakdancer piloted the spaceship at a rapid speed. At the same time, he was distracted to talk to Brother Ju. Or we can send you back to Earth first if you need. No need, I'll go back to the Alliance with you. Feng Bujue replied. You really don't need to? Breakdancer said. After you disappeared, your family and friends on Earth should be very worried. You really don't need to go back first. There's no need. Feng Bujue interrupted him and deliberately said in a very sad tone, I'm all alone in this world. I understand. Breakdancer seemed to have heard something. After hearing this, he stopped talking and focused on piloting. The stomp stranger turned his head back to look at Brother Ju deeply. There was a complicated look in his eyes. Humph. My acting is too good. Even I admire myself. Feng Bujue thought to himself. His expression was still serious. Obviously, Brother Ju had gotten into character. The poker man that he was playing was undeniably a tragic hero with a tragic past that he did not wish to recall. Since it was an unbearable past, there was no need to talk about it. Since there was no need to talk about it, it avoided the risk of being exposed. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. 5 minutes later, the spaceship rushed out of the atmosphere of Planet Shrugged Shoulder and entered the space environment. Feng Bujue didn't feel the effect of weightlessness. It seemed that the gravity simulation device in the spaceship was turned on by default. Beep, beep. Breakdancer was just about to activate the warp device when the communication device on the bridge rang. He looked at it. It was a call from the headquarters. He quickly pressed a button and said, This is Curry, I'm Breakdancer. Naming a spaceship like this is too much. Feng Bujue said, The 2 crew members are Hindustani. Even though it's not racist, it's obviously stereotypical. When he was complaining in his heart, he didn't seem to realize that the word Hindustani in his mind was also a term of this nature. Breakdancer, how's your mission coming along? The voice on the other side of the communicator asked. Breakdancer replied, We found a superhero from Earth. He is interested in joining the Alliance. Now we are preparing to bring him back. Please wait a moment. The other side said, the Alliance just received a warning about a sea level incident. The coordinates are very close to you. Can you go and deal with it first? Of course. Breakdancer agreed immediately. It's my duty. Even though it's just a sea level incident, please be careful, Breakdancer, the other side said. Understood. Breakdancer said, if there's an accident, we will report it first. Alright, I've sent over the coordinates of the alarm. Good luck to you. Thank you. After the communication ended, Clodhopper laughed and said, this cosmic year has been really busy. Breakdancer quickly changed the course of the spaceship according to the received coordinate. After setting it, he turned back to Fong Bujue and said, Pokerman, I'm sorry. It seems that you will have to come with us to another place first. It's okay. Fong Bujue replied, can you tell me in detail, what is a sea level incident? Even though he didn't express any opinions just now, he remembered every word of the other side's conversation. Clodhopper continued, oh, that's the classification of various crisis events in the Alliance. At this point, he looked up at Breakdancer next to him. After exchanging a look with him, he said, according to the rules, it's not convenient for us to disclose relevant details to people outside the Alliance. But you are a hero anyway, and it's very likely that you will become our comrade. I'll tell you first. Well, I'm really flattered. Fong Bujue replied. Clodhopper continued, the so-called sea level incident is a crisis that is enough to destroy a planet. What the hell? Fong Bujue said, destroying a planet is only a sea level incident. If that's the case, Frisia's level is barely an A-level incident. Oh? Is it that serious? Fong Bujue asked with a puzzled expression on the surface. Well, actually, from the perspective of the universe, it's not too serious. Clodhopper continued, generally speaking, sea-level crises can be handled by the local heroes of the planet. But if the heroes of the planet are not strong enough, or if they ask for support, the Alliance will also send people over. Then this is... Fong Bujue asked tentatively. Breakdancer took over the conversation and said, from the coordinates, the planet that sent the warning is trash 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 trash. Wait a minute. Fong Bujue interrupted. Let me guess. This planet is a colony of the Shrugged Shoulders, right? Yes. Hundreds of years ago it was still an uninhabited planet, but then there was a climate change, and it became a habitable planet. According to the interstellar law and the general rules of the Milky Way Federation, the closest and most suitable intelligent race to live there is the Shrugged Shoulders people. Therefore, they took over the planet and officially named it. Oh. Fong Bujue nodded and pretended to be enlightened, waiting for the other party to continue. The technology of the Shrugged Shoulders people is very advanced, but their combat ability is relatively weak. The Shrugged Shoulders people do have a few superheroes, but their strength. Clodhopper adjusted a few times on the console in front of the co-pilot and pulled up a set of data. He looked at it and said to Brother Bujue, well, their strength should not be able to deal with a sea-level incident. In addition, in the database of the Alliance, there are no records of superheroes from the Shrugged Planets, Clodhopper added. Understood. Fong Bujue said, so, I need the two of you to help. He paused and looked serious. I don't know, is there anything I can help with? Chapter 525. In just a few minutes, the spacecraft had completed the short-range warp and entered the orbit of planet Slag. This planet looked very similar to planet Towering Shoulder. From the perspective of the universe, they were both yellow planets, but planet Slag planet was slightly smaller. The gravitational force I felt on planet Shrugged is basically the same as on Earth. As they entered the atmosphere, Feng Bujue was still thinking about the details. Assuming the density of this planet is similar to planet Shrugged, then its gravitational force should be correspondingly smaller. If there is a battle later, I have to be careful. The gravitational force of this planet is slightly smaller than planet Shrugged. You have to be careful when you get off the ship, Poker Man. The kicker also turned around to remind him. Oh, I understand. Feng Bujue responded. After this period of interaction, he had a general understanding of the personality characteristics of these two heroes. The break dancer was a calm person. Although he was not a man of few words, he rarely talked nonsense. The step geek, on the other hand, was more talkative. His personality was relatively lively, and he was the kind of person who was easy to get along with others. He often made jokes. Other than the thick Indian accent and the weird hero title, these two are quite normal, Feng Bujue said internally. Looks like the people in this universe are just relatively naive, but they still have a basic level of intelligence. At least, I haven't seen that kind of hilarious idiot yet. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. A burst of wild laughter interrupted Brother Ju's thoughts. In a sense, it was a slap in his face. Just as Curry entered the atmosphere and began to decelerate, the main screen of the spacecraft suddenly cut to a strange image. In the image, there was a planet Shrugged. He was wearing a mechanical kinetic skeleton and a mechanical helmet. Just from his laughter and expression, it was clear that he was not a good person. Ha ha ha. You Chow Alliance, you really came. The person laughed for a while before finally speaking. Who are you? The kicker shouted at the screen. Humph. You don't even know who I am, you ignorant people. The man snorted. I am the great genius scientist, Dr. Unveil. Hey, what kind of grudge do you have with your parents? Feng Bujue said. You can actually hack into this ship's communication channel? Thunder Dancer looked at the other party and said in a low voice. Ha 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 ha. Dr. Biao laughed. What a joke. This is a piece of cake. He paused for a moment and put on a ferocious expression. Listen up, heroes. I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. Turn back now or else. Oh? You dare to threaten us? Thunder Dancer interrupted. So, you are the initiator of this crisis. Humph. To be able to see through this in an instant, you're pretty smart. Dr. Bayou snorted coldly. You call this F*King smart? Feng Bujue was shocked. He cried out in his heart, You're just short of writing the words I'm the villain on your face. Now that things have come to this, I have nothing to hide. Dr. Bayou continued. Yes, my real title should be the great, evil, invincible genius scientist. Dr. Unveil, what are you hiding? Feng Bujue was really anxious for the other party's intelligence. What have you been hiding from the beginning to the end? The only difference is adding evil and invincible to your self-description? You're determined to be a thief. What are you trying to do? The kicker glared at the other party. Ha ha. You'll find out soon, Dr. Bayou said and ended the communication. During their conversation, the ship had descended a lot. At this time, Thunder Dancer adjusted the ship's navigation mode and changed it to autopilot in the atmosphere. After doing this, Thunder Dancer said, This Dr. Bayou is really arrogant. It seems that this mission is not easy to deal with. The kicker added, After all, it's still a sea level. As for how serious it is, we'll have to confirm with the local government that sent out the alarm. I say you too. Feng Bujue finally could not help but remind them from behind, since the other party can successfully hack into Curry's communication system, it means that our location has been exposed. The two in front heard this and were stunned. The other party already knows our location, but he didn't attack us. This doesn't make sense. Brother Baya continued. Of course, it could be that the conditions don't allow him to attack. For example, His location is on the other side of the planet and he can't pose a threat to us in a short period of time. Or maybe he doesn't have any effective anti-air means. So, he can only threaten us through the communication system. He paused. But he just confidently said that we will find out his intentions. Then, there are only 3 possibilities. He raised 3 fingers. 1. He is confident that he can quickly control us after we land. 2. The danger he created has affected the entire planet. No matter where we land, we'll be affected immediately. 3. He's talking nonsense. At this point, Feng Bujue paused for a few seconds like he was waiting for the 2 heroes to digest the information that he had given them. Then he continued. Personally, I believe the second scenario is the most likely, and the first scenario is second. But no matter which scenario it is, it indicates that we'll most likely encounter some kind of danger when we land. Oh, you're a genius, Poker Man. The kicker suddenly widened his eyes at Brother Bayou and shouted. Oh no. I'm just following common sense. Feng Bujue was not being modest, but the other party did not give him a chance to continue, even Thunderdancer was shocked. So, in addition to superpowers, you're also a hero with super intelligence. Hey, are you implying that the average IQ of all intelligent races in this universe is below 80? Feng Bujue naturally would not say this out loud. He silently complained in his heart. No wonder the doctor said you're smart. But is this setting really okay? How did you develop into the interstellar era? Relying on a very small number of geniuses to drive the course of history. When he thought of this, his expression changed slightly. Wait. If you think about it carefully, it seems quite normal. Human technology in the real world is also driven by some outstanding talents at the top of the pyramid. The kicker did not notice the change in Brother Bayou's expression. He continued, Poker Man, you may not know, but there hasn't been a super-intelligent hero on Earth for many years, and heroes with both superpowers and superintelligence are rare in the universe. Ha. I didn't know I was that good. Feng Bujue replied with a dry laugh. Of course. At present, in the Supreme Council of the Alliance, there are 2 super-intelligent heroes. The kicker said, they are Toadman and Tinfoil Man. Can this name be any worse? Brother Bayou thought to himself. Although they don't have any superpowers, they have unparalleled intelligence. The kicker continued to explain. And they are very rich with almost unlimited financial resources. In the early days of the Alliance, before any sponsorship, they supported the operation of the entire organization. Why does this setting sound so familiar? Feng Bujue thought to himself. And, why did I just casually say a few words, but this guy started to explain in detail with great interest. The NPCs in this world are too easy to get information out of. The kicker was not finished. Toadman, real name Enwei Srub, is the only son of the Srub family, the richest family on Mahat. Enwei witnessed his parents being killed by criminals when he was a child. He swore to wipe out the evil and not let other children suffer the same fate. For this reason, he visited many famous teachers, mastered a variety of detective knowledge and combat skills, and relied on a large number of high-tech equipment made by the Srub Group to start his crusade. During the day, he is a brainless rich second generation, a playboy in the eyes of others. At night, he is the dark knight that terrorizes criminals. Toadman, is it okay to copy Batman's setting so blatantly? Is it okay for you to tell me his real name? And why is it Toad? Why? Feng Bujue could not hold it in any longer. He really wanted to shout out all these words, but he could not. Tinfoil Paper Man. The stomp stranger was still talking. His real name is Taz Nitto, the heir to the Nitto Corporation. His hometown is the Mud Planet, which is famous for its technological civilization. He is a world-famous arms dealer, physicist, engineer, philanthropist, inventor, adventurer, billionaire, and playboy. He wears his own power armor, which gives him superhuman strength, endurance, flight ability, and a variety of weapon systems, so he can be a hero. And the power source of the armor is the mini-arc energy furnace on his chest. I'll interrupt. Brother Jew could not hold it in any longer. Then, why is he called Tin Foil Man? Is his armor? Yes, that's right, the basic material of his armor is the super tin foil he developed. The kicker continued. This material is very light, almost comparable to tights, and it can withstand pressure and high temperature. With his molecular level technology, it can, hey, look. At this time, the kicker, who was controlling the spacecraft to descend, interrupted their conversation. He turned a split screen to the main screen in front of them. This is captured by the spacecraft's monitor. He looked nervous. What are those on the ground? The kicker immediately turned his head and said in shock, "This is definitely not a regular mechanized army of the military." Feng Bujue was struggling in the abyss of pain at this moment. He was close to the point of his balls cracking, so no matter what happened next, it did not matter to him. Brother Jew raised his eyes to look at the screen. He saw that on the yellowish plains below the spaceship, there was a large black shadow moving slowly. Upon closer inspection, one would realize that it was an army made up of machines. Countless mechanical monsters of different shapes and sizes were in formation and advancing at high speed on the land. What the hell? Feng Bujue said, "Dr. Jinx, can't you just shrug your shoulders and come up with something like a zombie virus? How do you want us to deal with an army of mechanical monsters? By the way, aren't the financial resources and execution ability of villains like you a little too high? Isn't it better to use the same amount of money and energy to do something more serious? The coordinates of the alarm are not far from here. I'll switch to manual mode now and get closer," the kicker said and put his hands on the control panel. "Kicker, try to contact the government forces." "Understood." The kicker responded and then picked up the communication device, pressed a few buttons on the control panel, and waited for 10 seconds. "Strange. I can't find a signal. It's possible that the government forces have blocked the signal of the base to hide there." The kicker did not finish this sentence because halfway through, he had seen the base with his naked eye. Feng Bujue also saw the scene in the distance. He said in a low voice from behind, "We're late." Chapter 526. The government base about 1 kilometer away had already been ravaged by a large number of mechanical monsters. Not only the surface facilities, even the underground facilities were severely damaged. The cracked surface of the ground, the rampaging monsters, the billowing smoke and flames, and the large amount of wreckage and corpses left behind from the battle painted a picture of death and destruction. There was no need to consider the possibility of survivors. "It seems that there is no need to land," Thunderdancer muttered. Let me ask a few questions." Feng Bujue interrupted and asked, "How many people are there on this planet? What percentage of the total area of the planet is inhabited? Also, how many government agencies are there with interstellar communication capabilities? Where are they?" "I have already checked on the way here," Thunderdancer answered as he pulled up the data on the control panel in front of him. According to the Alliance's database, the total population of planet Slag is about 250 million. The planet's utilization rate is 14%. Of course, only the highest government of the planet has interstellar travel and communication equipment. He paused. However, the base that is sending us the signal is not the Interstellar Affairs Agency that they reported to the Milky Way Federation. "Well, that's not strange," Feng Bujue said. "Not strange." Thunderdancer was puzzled. "Yes, that's normal. The base in front of us is undoubtedly a secret military facility. Otherwise, it would not be built in this wasteland." Feng Bujue said, "For a facility like this, The government of planet shrugged naturally would not report it to the Milky Way Federation or the Universe Superhero Alliance. Even if this place is discovered by the outside world, they can say that it is a military secret and they have the right not to report it. He spread out his hands. In fact, this secret is indeed useful now. If it were not for the existence of this base, I am afraid that this planet would not even be able to send out a signal for help. Why do you say that? Step's strange guest asked again. This is obvious. When Brother Jew was reasoning, he would often accidentally reveal his arrogant tone. The first step of Dr. Biao's operation must be to control the highest government of planet slag. The first step of any plan is very important. The more perfect the execution, the smoother the subsequent steps will be. For example, as long as Dr. Biao's plan is thorough and fast, he can take care of the planet's government before they ask for help from the outside world. And he had obviously done it. The fact that Dr. Death had hacked into Curry's communication channel was enough to prove that the star government had fallen. Professor Bayou must have used the resources of the star government, which is why he was able to capture our location and complete the invasion. Oh, I understand now. Step's strange guest continued. Even though Dr. Doom had taken over the star government, he definitely didn't know about the existence of this base. By the time he discovered this in the government database and sent troops to attack, the alarm had already been sounded. Yes. Feng Bujua nodded. Unfortunately, the commander here is still a little slow. I think when the base lost contact with the galactic government, he must have taken it for granted that it was a communication device failure or something. He craned his neck and looked down at the army on the ground. He only realized the severity of the situation when the army arrived. By then, he couldn't care less. He must have sent a message directly to the home planet and the Universal Superhero Alliance from this secret base. Break Dancer interrupted again. That's not right. Assuming Dr. Biao took over the star government an hour ago, Break Dancer was also on Earth, so he consciously used the hour unit to communicate with Brother Jew from Earth. Then why didn't he use the galactic defense of this planet's government to deal with us? Brother Jew habitually used his finger to touch the bridge of his nose as he stared into the distance. He said methodically, there are two possibilities. The first possibility is, he can't use it. Because for a weapon system of this level, when activating it, it definitely needs the security key of a senior administrative or military officer, which means the key, password, fingerprint and so on. You should know this better than me. Anyway, as far as I know, this is the case on Earth. The second possibility is, those weapons have already been destroyed by his mechanical monster army. That makes sense. Break Dancer agreed. After all, we have entered the atmosphere now. Dr. Biao has lost the chance to heavily injure or even destroy us in space. The kicker said, in a close combat, he is definitely no match for us. That's right. Now we just need to find where Dr. Biao is. Break Dancer said. If I'm not mistaken, he should still be with the galactic government. Feng Bujue reminded. You're right. Break Dancer answered and immediately reconfigured the ship's driving mode and navigation target. I'll drive the ship to the capital of planet Draga. There are only 3 of us. Feng Bujue narrowed his eyes. Who knows how many of these mechanical monster troops the galactic government has? Perhaps there are even more advanced combat unit. Don't we need to come up with a plan to sneak up on them? There's no need. The kicker interrupted him. Don't worry, Pokerman. As long as you follow us, you'll be fine. Hey, what's with this confidence? Brother Jew thought to himself. Just how strong are you guys? Don't tell me the aliens are really cheating. Okay. Feng Bujue still gave a perfunctory answer. The ship traveled for a while more before it approached the galactic government of planet Draga. During this time, Brother Jew left his seat to go to the toilet. Of course, it was not for the sake of convenience. Instead, he wanted to find a place where there was no one and no surveillance to practice his wild ball punch. Not long after he returned to the cockpit, Curry flew over the sky of a city. A minute later, Break Dancer operated the control panel and switched the ship into hovering mode. Then, he stood up and said, "Let's go down." Fong Bujue was stunned. "Are we going to jump down just like that?" "Yes." Break Dancer said, "You can't fly, right?" "It's okay, we can bring you along." No, that's not necessary." Fong Bujue interrupted. "I'm not worried about falling to my death. I mean, is it okay for the ship to stop in midair? What if we get shot down?" "Don't worry, I've set up an automatic return," Break Dancer replied. "After we jump down, the ship will fly back to the Alliance on its own. Also, I've just sent a standard document to the headquarters. The rescue and reconstruction team is already on the way. When we're done here, they'll be almost there. We'll just hitch a ride back." "Oh, ha ha ha." Fong Bujue's smile was filled with endless bitterness. That's good." Although he said this, his heart was lamenting. Why did I ask them a stupid question like, "Do they need help?" I'm digging my own grave. Now I can't even say I want to go back with the ship, and I just went to the toilet. I can't even use the excuse of a sudden stomachache. Although he was depressed, Brother Ju did not have much choice. Now he could only abandon the ship with these two, jump into the enemy's camp, and fight to the death. The three of them quickly passed through the axle of the ship and came to the external hatch door. "Are you sure you don't need our help? It's very dangerous to fall from a high altitude." The moment before the door opened, the kick-ass stranger looked back and asked, "Don't worry. This is my strength." Fong Bujue replied calmly. This was true. In theory, as long as the soles of his feet touched the ground first, it did not matter how high he jumped. "Oh, that's good," the kick-ass stranger replied with a smile. At this time, Break Dancer had already opened the hatch. Although the altitude of the ship had dropped to more than 1,000 meters, the wind pressure outside was still very high. The whistling of the wind poured into their ears and made them nervous. Break Dancer turned back and shouted, "I'll jump first. Poker Man, you follow behind me." It seemed that he was still worried, so he arranged for the kick-ass stranger to take the rear. After all, this Poker Man had not shown any ability. If he tried to be brave and fell to his death, it would be a problem. "Okay," Brother Ju replied. He cursed in his heart, "Damn it. My plan to hide at the back, pretend to sprain my ankle, and then return with the ship is ruined." In fact, Brother Ju's plan was impossible to succeed because the automatic return system was activated based on the weight. Unless he could find something as heavy as himself to throw out in a short time, the ship would not move. Even if he used Jeppo and jumped out and bounced back in 2 seconds, it would be useless. As long as the error of the internal weight was too large, the ship would stop moving. It was worth mentioning here. Although the name of the ship was strange and unimpressive, it was still a standard ship of the Universe Superhero Alliance. The ship was equipped with a safety system invented by Toadman. Like this automatic return setting, it could prevent enemies from sneaking into the ship under most circumstances. In addition, this ship had many other excellent settings, such as optical camouflage, deep-sea flight, and so on. It was just that Brother Ju did not know much about them for the time being. Seeing this, everyone should be able to understand why Break Dancer and Kick-Ass Stranger scoffed at Dr. Doom's army, but were surprised that Dr. Doom could hack into the ship's communication system. Back to the story, as Break Dancer jumped out of the hatch, Fong Bujue and Kick-Ass Stranger jumped out one after another. 2 seconds after the three of them went out, the hatch of the ship automatically closed. The gravitational force of this planet was indeed weak. Fong Bujue had already noticed it during the process of falling. In addition, he also noticed something else, and that was, directly below the three of them, Within a radius of 3 kilometers, a large number of mechanical monsters had gathered, ready for battle. Chapter 527. You came at the right time, Thunder Dancer said as he looked at the battle formation below. Poker Man, be careful. The Stomp's strange guest shouted from behind. Okay. Fong Bujua replied loudly, but in his heart, he said, I was underestimated. To be honest, I am still a little confident in my strength. In a situation like this, as long as I want to, a tempest kick, chaos before landing is enough to cause huge damage. Even if the defense of those machines is very strong, it is impossible to be unscathed. His thoughts were interrupted at this time, because you _can _touch this, a popular rap song suddenly sounded in his ears. It was not only the song, but also the melody, rhythm, accompaniment, and so on. The source of the sound was completely unknown, but everyone present heard it. Then, Thunder Dancer stepped on the head of a mechanical Tyrannosaurus. The next second, the giant mechanical monster exploded instantly and fell apart. Some of the smaller mechanical monsters nearby were directly killed by the sputtering debris and the falling body of the Tyrannosaurus. In the flames of the explosion, Thunder Dancer continuously flipped in the air and landed steadily. As the saying goes, a real man never looks back at an explosion. After Thunder Dancer landed, he did not look back. He danced to the tune of you _can _touch this, the representative work of the legendary rapper and dancer MC Hammer. The brainwashing and classic level of this song was not inferior to Jiangnan style, and the dance steps were more gorgeous and difficult. There were many jumping and spinning movements, the prototype of the orc dance in WoW. Now, under Thunder Dancer's interpretation, many new tricks were added, such as puppet move, moonwalk, bang step, and a large number of floor-spinning movements. Every movement of Thunder Dancer could release the power of thousands of kilograms. Along with the rhythm of the music, it also released invisible shock waves. The mechanical army fell like wheat in the rhythm of the music. They did not have the power to fight back at all. F***ck. Fong Bujua only stood there and watched for a few seconds. He was so shocked that he could not close his mouth. He thought to himself, what is this? Find a few dozen Indians to do a square dance, and the Milky Way will be unified. Stomp's strange guest stood beside Brother Jew with his hands on his chest and shook along with the rhythm. He said, looks like I don't have to do anything. Yes. You have to leave them a way out, Fong Bujua said internally. In less than a song, all the mechanical monsters within a 3-kilometer radius had been cleaned up by the breakbeat dancer. Fong Bujua stood to the side, but did not move at all. He really regretted not using Rankyaku in the air just now. If he had used it, he might have been able to get some skill points. It would not have been a wasted trip. Heh. At this moment, a burst of sinister laughter sounded. Along with the laughter came a black beam of light. The target of the beam was none other than the weakest of the three. Fong Bujua, at least everyone present, including himself, thought so. Be careful! The Stomp's strange guest shouted and stood in front of Brother Jew. In the blink of an eye, all that could be heard was the sound of dozens of continuous kicks. Following that, the strange man put his hands on his hips, maintained an upright posture, and kicked out with his foot. A force like a hidden dragon came out of the abyss and brazenly met the beam of light. The two collided and set off a raging wave, leaving countless ditches in the surrounding buildings and street. As expected of the breakbeat dancer and the Stomp's strange guest. I knew that those cannon fodders would not be able to do anything to you. The person who laughed strangely appeared on the street as he spoke. This person was also from the Shrugged Planet. He was wearing a set of black armor. The style was very similar to that of Dr. Wither and Wither. It seemed that this was a mini-boss level character. Who are you? the stomp's strange guest asked. Hehehehe. I am the first general under the great, evil, invincible Dr. Wither and Wither. He first said the name of his boss, as if this could elevate himself. Marshal Wretched Wretched. Nonsense. Suddenly, another shout pierced through the air. Before Feng Bujue and the two heroes could speak, there was another uninvited guest who interrupted. I am the first general under the great, evil, invincible Dr. Wither and Wither. The speaker came from behind Wretched Wretched. He was also wearing a set of similar armor. Remember my name, superheroes? I am the general of the stomp's strange guest. Hiss, phew. Feng Bujue took a deep breath. In the face of the enemy, he could finally speak freely. I don't know why, although the outcome has not been decided yet, but I am already beginning to sympathize with you. Where did this trash hero come from? Wretched Wretched looked at Brother Ju with disdain and said coldly, I have never seen you before. I will let you see me today. Feng Bujue said as he took out the blade must break defense from his inventory. Hehehe, what? Do you want to fight me by taking out your weapon? Let me warn you first. This is a super armor invented by the doctor. Even if I'm hit by a missile, I'm not afraid. The attack of a hero like you. Bang! Red Spirit Chi suddenly appeared and Feng Bujue's figure instantly disappeared from the other party's line of sight. Half a second later, Brother Ju arrived behind Poor and stretched out his leg to trip him. Even Poor himself felt that it was inconceivable. The force that came from his ankle was not very strong, but he could not help but fall down along with this force, falling like a dog eating mud. It wasn't over yet. Just as Poorman fell to the ground, a kitchen knife stabbed at the back of his head. His armor, which claimed to be able to withstand missiles, was pierced through like tofu. Instant activation of body enhancement spell, modified, combined with mischievous child's lower whip kick, and blade of mandatory defense penetration. Feng Bujue had already thought of this combo when he obtained this perfect weapon, and now he was going to test it out on this enemy with high defense. That poor Marshal didn't even have the chance to unleash 10% of the power of the armor before he was killed because he underestimated the enemy. What? Seeing this scene, General Rufus cried out in alarm. The Thunderbolt Dancer and the Step's strange guest on the side were also aghast. You can't even withstand a single blow. Brother Ju pulled out the kitchen knife and shook off the brain and blood on the knife. But he turned his head and looked at Rufus with an evil smile. You should be happy. You are now the undisputed #1 general. Brother Ju's smile was more than 10 times scarier than this group of amusing villains. Rufus and Rufus looked at each other, then his expression changed abruptly. He turned around and ran. He didn't even dare to say a word because he was afraid that Rufus would catch up. In fact, he didn't need to run at all. What happened just now was the result of Poor's carelessness. As long as he was prepared and avoided the kick, or forcefully twisted his body while falling, he could break this combo. Unfortunately, Rufus and Rufus were scared out of their wits. They didn't even have the courage to fight, so there was no need to talk about tactics. Sorry. Feng Bujue put away the kitchen knife and walked to his two companions. There is a very important question I haven't asked yet. He paused. Our alliance allows heroes to kill people? The Thunderbolt Dancer had just recovered from the shock. He replied somewhat woodenly, generally speaking, it's not recommended to kill people. It's best to let the criminals go to trial. But for crises above sea level, we are usually allowed to kill first and report later. Oh, then I will pay attention in the future. Feng Bujue replied calmly. He was using his actions to express what it meant to kill without blinking an eye. Wow. The Step's strange guest's reaction arc seemed to be relatively long. At this moment, he exclaimed, Poker Man, I didn't know you were so strong. No. You two are more powerful. Brother Ju replied. What he said was true. In terms of raw strength, the Thunderbolt Dancer and the Step Strange Guest could easily beat him. But when factors such as conspiracy and trickery were factored in, Feng Bujue had no problem taking on the two of them alone. With your combat power, and you are a super intelligent hero, the Thunderbolt Dancer muttered, Poker Man, you might be able to enter the Supreme Council in the future. Is that so? Feng Bujue laughed dryly and thought to himself, I have a feeling that it will be a very troublesome matter, that. Anyway, let's solve the problem in front of us first. Brother Ju changed the topic. Chapter 528. That being said, but now or the enemies have either died or escaped. He scratched his chin and thought. How are we going to find Dr. Wither? I have a question, Feng Bujue said. That giant building over there. He pointed at a building in the distance. What is that for? Oh, that's the office building of the trash. Then Dr. Wither is probably inside there. Feng Bujue narrowed his eyes. Poor, and Wither came from that direction, and Wither ran in that direction as well. You have a point. Thunder Dancer nodded. No wonder you are a super intelligent hero. So, am I the smart one or are you the idiot? Feng Bujue complained internally. It feels like the standard of super and intelligent has been lowered by you two. By the way, why didn't you just fly the spaceship to the top of the building before jumping down? Don't tell me it was to prevent anti-air fire. I don't believe you can think that far ahead. Okay, then we shall depart now, Thunder Dancer said. Oh, by the way, wait for me. Brother Ju suddenly remembered something. As he spoke, he walked toward Poor's body. Thunder Dancer and Thunder Dancer looked at each other, not knowing what Poker Man was up to. Actually, Feng Bujue just wanted to search the body, but he knew that Thriller Paradise was not a game where you would get loot from killing monsters. Even if you killed the scenario boss, you might not get anything. So, I can't take it off. Feng Bujue searched Poor's body for a long time, but he could not find anything valuable, and he could not remove the armor on the man. Brother Ju realized that the black armor was not worn on Poor body. The only part of the armor that could be removed was the helmet, but this part had been destroyed by the blade of armor piercing. Even the item description could not be seen. Poker Man, are you looking for something? Break Dancer asked after watching for a while. Brother Ju reacted quickly. With his acting skills, wit, and storytelling ability, he could fool the two before him. I want to see if the helmet can still be used. Oh, I get it. You want to use the communication device or navigation system in the helmet to find the location of Dr. WW, right? Step Strange Guest asked. Yes. Feng Bujue quickly nodded. Unfortunately, the helmet has been completely destroyed. He stood up. We'll have to take it one step at a time. Don't worry, Poker Man. If we don't have enough information, we'll just spend more time. Thunder Dancer said, Thunder Dancer and I are both galactic superheroes. We're more than capable of dealing with sea-level incidents. Even if there are unexpected situations, they won't pose any threat to us. Galactic. Feng Bujue heard a new term. At this moment, Thunder Dancer and Thunder Dancer had already regarded Brother Ju as the backbone of the alliance in the future. They naturally would not hide anything from him on these common-sense issues. Thunder Dancer immediately replied, Well, this is the internal classification of superheroes set by the alliance. Broadly speaking, there are 4 levels, namely, City level, Galactic, and Universe level. Step Strange Guest continued, Of course, the level isn't just based on fighting ability. For example, Toadman, Although he doesn't have any superpowers, he is still classified as universe level because he doesn't need superpowers to do things that many star system level heroes can't do. Oh, understood. Feng Bujue read. He then turned around and pointed to the front. By the way, let's talk as we walk. At this point, Brother Ju was no longer worried about his own safety, so he made this suggestion. The other two agreed, and so the three of them set off on foot. Tell me more about the classification of crisis event. I'm also very interested in that. Feng Bujue continued. Thunder Dancer replied, well, that's more complicated. He thought for a few seconds and sorted out his thoughts before saying, from low to high, there are a total of 7 levels. The lowest is level F, which refers to ordinary criminal activities, generally speaking, some behavior that violates the laws of the planet, such as murder, robbery, theft, and so on. Then there is level E, which refers to criminal activities that may destroy a city, such as creating giant monsters, releasing virus weapons, organizing troops to occupy towns, and so on. Above this is level D, which refers to criminal activities that may destroy a country. Although many planets are in a state of political integration, there are many planets like Earth where multiple countries coexist, so level D is set up. This level is between level E and level C. If a level E incident is not handled properly, it is very likely to be upgraded to level D. He paused here. The above 3 levels can usually be solved by one or more local superheroes of the planet involved. In most cases, there is no need to mobilize the manpower of the Alliance. Kicker took over at this time and said, as for level C, you already know that it refers to a crisis that is enough to destroy a planet, which is the kind of incident we are dealing with now. Feng Bujue responded twice and motioned for them to continue. Thunder Dancer continued, level C incidents, logically speaking, should be handled by local heroes, or rather, they have the priority to take over. However, for an incident of this level, most of the city-level heroes are unable to handle it alone. Chapter 529. Don't think that you can be so arrogant just because you killed Shorty said loudly. My strength is on a completely different level from theirs. Not only is the entire sentence not intimidating, but it's also filled with negative energy. Feng Bujue muttered. The armor I'm wearing is specially made for me by Professor Bio. Compared to what the two of them are wearing, there's a world of difference in performance, Shorty continued. In the end, it's just a difference in the performance of the armor. Brother Ju replied. What's there to be proud of? Is this your strength? This was the strength of the doctor. Also, are you sure the doctor didn't specially make you because you're short? Humph. I know that all of you must be thinking that it's possible to defeat such an opponent as long as the 3 of us work together, right? The Shorty continued. No. Feng Bujue replied. I think the break dancer alone is enough to kill you. I'll just dance with the tap monster. Shorty was still daydreaming, completely ignoring Brother Ju's ridicule. Ha 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 ha. But you've miscalculated. I have specially brought the elite troops developed by the Doctor, the IWNBB Battle Robot Army. What the hell is that? Brother Ju narrowed his eyes. He had a bad premonition. By the way, the full name of IWNBB is I_will_never_be_back. The Shorty continued. Might as well name it the Terminator. Does the creator know that it's impossible to return alive? Feng Bujue roared. Ha ha! Do you feel despair now? Foolish heroes! Shorty laughed loudly. Despair. It was simply terminating life and death. Even I think you're hopeless. Feng Bujue didn't know what expression he should use to face the villains on this planet. It should be noted that although the tone of this universe was similar to this, it did not mean that all aliens had low IQ. The reason why Feng Bujue was experiencing such a pain in the ass was only because of the arrangement of the system. After all, this was the first part of the story after he entered the free exploration mode, so the difficulty was naturally at the newbie level. Therefore, the enemy's intelligence was very low, and it was very easy to gain the trust of the NPCs. Let's put it this way: for this trip, even if Brother Ju watched the entire process, he would still be able to smoothly reach the next plot point, and there would definitely be a safe house there. Of course, not only Feng Bujue, all the players in Thriller Paradise faced the same difficulty when they entered free exploration mode for the first time. This was because the scenario worlds in this mode were not generated by the system based on the player's data, but actual multiverse. Therefore, the system could not adjust the difficulty like normal scenarios, so it came up with a more relaxed arrangement. Such a setting could effectively prevent noobs. Some of them would still be noobs even if they were maxed out, from accidentally stepping on the creator's cockroach pet the moment they entered this universe, causing them to be unable to survive, forced to change universes, and eventually complain to customer service. Let's go. IWNBB Army. Shorty proudly finished his opening speech and ordered the mechanical army to charge over. With his order, the robots moved at high speed and got into formation. But Billy_Jean_ is not my lovers _list claims the kid is not my son. The song started. This time, it was Michael Jackson's classic Billy_Jean. For some reason, the song skipped to the last part, which was the part that repeatedly emphasized, "The child is not mine." The breakdancer danced to the music and pretended to take off his hat. Just this movement brought out a force that was as powerful as a landslide, and it knocked the formation of the mechanical army all over the place. Then, the breakdancer started a mechanical dance that was filled with passion. His dance steps were very similar to MJ's, and they matched perfectly with the rhythm. This was especially true when he grabbed and twisted his hip. It was incredibly powerful, and every time he used it, it would release a surge of energy that could at least cause a small explosion. 30 seconds. Dr. Dewey's IWNBB elite unit, if they were really elites, only lasted for this short amount of time before they were wiped out. Only Shorty was left standing in the middle of the street. You're stronger than I thought. Shorty's sweat flowed down his face like a waterfall. But I believe that the doctor's armor can definitely defeat you. There was a reason for his confidence. At the very least, he didn't lose his life in the previous attack because he was wearing armor. However, but the kid is not my son. When the last line of the lyrics sounded, the breakdancer turned around and did a moonwalk, leaving behind afterimages. In an instant, he flashed to Shorty's side. Then, he raised his arm horizontally and pointed his finger sideways, causing the opponent to explode into pieces with a single blow. The music stopped abruptly. The breakdancer turned around and said to his two companions, "Where were we?" Feng Bujue let out a long sigh and walked forward. Kicking strange guest shrugged and followed. For these three, the scene of the massacre just now was just a small interlude on their way forward. It should be grade B now, Feng Bujue said as he walked. He was more confident now and walked to the front of the three. "Oh right," the breakdancer continued. Grade B crisis refers to criminal activities that may destroy a star system. Incidents of this level have to be taken over by the Space Super Alliance. The standard procedure is to have a hero of star system level and above lead the team to deal with it. The team must have no less than 5 people. Except for some special circumstances, such as needing the ability of a specific hero, Grade B incidents generally do not allow city-level heroes to participate. He paused for a few seconds before saying, "Next is Grade A crisis, which is a major crisis that may destroy multiple star systems. Fortunately, this kind of situation rarely happens. According to the time on Earth, it happens once every 3 to 5 years on average." Hey, that's frequent enough," Feng Bujue said. The breakdancer was still talking. "To trigger this kind of crisis, it is usually a small group made up of many supervillains. If it's an individual, then it's basically at Frisia's level." "Hey, you don't know about the Avengers, but you know about Frisia?" Feng Bujue muttered. "Hey, you were born on Earth. You should have read that comic, right?" The breakdancer asked. "Niao Hyaming's Dragon Sign is a classic." "What is that?" "Both the author and the name of the comic are problematic, right? Why is Frisia's name the only one that hasn't been changed?" Although there were thousands of alpacas galloping in his heart, Brother Bujue still pretended to be calm and replied, "I've read some." "Oh haha, that seems to be a bit off topic." Breakdancer smiled and continued, "In short, the strategy to deal with an A-level crisis is generally to have a universal-level hero lead the team, and the team has no less than 10 members. Except for special circumstances, planetary and city-level heroes are not qualified to join the team." "Oh," Feng Bujue replied. "By the way, you said there are 7 levels, but from F to A there are only 6, could it be?" "That's right, there's also Grade S crises," the breakdancer replied. The breakdancer replied, "That is a catastrophic event that is enough to cause the extinction of all intelligent life in the universe." Step Strange interrupted at this time. "So far, there has only been one known Grade S crisis. It was to deal with that incident that the heroes in the universe united and formed the Universal Superhero Alliance." "That's right," the breakdancer continued. "The heroes who survived that crisis were the first members of the Supreme Council of the Alliance." He paused for a moment. "But that is a long story, and there are many details that we are not very clear about. If there is time, let's talk about it later." While they were talking, they walked a lot of distance. Not long after, the 3 of them successfully arrived at the office building of the trashy planet's government. Looking up, this building was at least 100 stories high. The structure was in the shape of a Christmas tree, and the whole body was cast in dark metal. From the perspective of an Earthling, this building was indeed a wonder and a magnificent sight. At this time, Feng Bujue had already given up on the idea of planning, layout, and the like. With the help of the 2 aliens beside him, he only needed to make such a plan. "Let's break in?" Chapter 530. With a loud boom, the door that was as sturdy as a city wall was shattered by the strange guest's kick. Hundreds of elite robots had been waiting for a long time in the spacious hall of the Star Government. Bayan, who had fled earlier, was now standing right in front of the IWNBB army. Once again, he put on a haughty expression. "Heroes, it's over." Bayan's arrogant tone returned, as if the embarrassing scene had never happened. "With me and Bayan here, don't even think about getting close to Dr. Bayan in the underground command center. You exposed your boss's position as soon as you opened your mouth. You've got guts." Feng Bujue looked at him sympathetically. "Don't think that I retreated. Don't think that I retreated because I was afraid of you. I'm just making a strategic detour, and then I'll have a showdown with you here. Didn't you just run back here and find a group of robots to help you?" Feng Bujue stated the truth coldly. "Cut the crap, you despicable person. Didn't you kill the poor by surprise attack?" Madame Li shouted anxiously. "Didn't you kill the poor by surprise attack? What's there to be proud of? Running away from the battle and trying to bully the weak with numbers, and you call me despicable?" Feng Bujue held his forehead and shook his head. He continued weakly, "You don't even have the courage to fight equally with the strong. Is it really okay for you to speak so loudly? Even a slightly more stylish villain wouldn't be like this. You're at most a hooligan who extorts pocket money from elementary school students. Why don't you shut up and find a corner to die? Arg, Bayan was so angry that he roared out loud. At the same time, the armor on his body suddenly changed shape and more than 10 cannon barrels burst out, ready to launch a wave of indiscriminate high-energy attacks. It had to be said that not only was General Bayan seeking death, but he was also seeking his own humiliation. First of all, it was unlikely that arguing with Brother Bayan would end well. Secondly, launching such a desperate attack in front of the two galactic heroes was no different from seeking death. Step back, let me do it! The trampling strange guest shouted and stepped forward. In this short 2 seconds, he was ready to use his ultimate move. He put his hands on his waist and took 2 steps forward. In the blink of an eye, a row of phantoms appeared in front of Feng Bujue and the Thunder Dancer like a human wall. At the same time, "Die!" Tao Wu shouted, and the armor in front of him immediately erupted more than 10 energy attacks, blasting toward the superheroes. "Profound! Big River Dance!" the kicking eccentric shouted. In the face of this tsunami-like move, Tao Wu An's attack was not worth mentioning at all. The light of the energy cannons was scattered in an instant. This was not the end. The kicking sounds of the river dance rose and fell one after another, and the power was like a rolling snowball that grew stronger and stronger. In a few seconds, the astral winds had completely engulfed Swanee and the IWNBB troops behind her, tearing them into pieces. Looking at the debris on the ground, Feng Bujue shrugged and said, "Well, at least his appearance allowed us to confirm the doctor's position." The Thunder Dancer responded, "Do you have a plan now? What should we do next, Pokerman?" Pokerman, the stomp strange guest, stopped his attack and turned around. These two NPCs are really super friendly and super obedient. This plot feels like bringing 2 max-level summons to a low-level map. Feng Bujue said. "Well, it's not a plan, but I noticed something." Feng Bujue said seriously, "Have you noticed, so far, except for Dr. Biao's 3 subordinates, we haven't even seen a single shrugger?" The Thunder Dancer and the kicking eccentric looked at each other and said in unison, "That's right. Could it be that Dr. Biao has killed all the residents in this city?" "Not likely," Feng Bujue replied. "Although the city has been severely damaged, along the way, we haven't seen a single civilian body, not even a trace of blood." He glanced around. "It's the same in this building. This should be the most heavily guarded place on the entire planet, but why is there no trace of resistance or casualties even here?" "Why?" The 2 Hindustanis looked at Brother Jew with confusion. "This shows that there's a mole in the galactic government," Feng Bujue replied. "The reason why Dr. Biao's takeover of the government was so fast and smooth, to the point where the galactic government couldn't even send out a warning to the outside world, it must be because of the help of a mole." He rubbed his chin and said with a faraway look, "This mole's rank in the government is not the highest, so he doesn't know about the secret military base. But his position is not low either. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to play the role he should have." He deliberated for a moment. "This is someone who doesn't have access to the highest military secrets, but has considerable power in the capital of the planet, could it be?" "That's right, it's me." Suddenly, the radio in the building rang and a low voice responded to Brother Jew's words. "I'm the mayor of this place, Cheater. The mayor said through the radio, 'Heroes, you are indeed very powerful, but, hee-hee.'" He laughed sinisterly for a moment. "That's the end. I've heard this 3 or 4 times in the past hour." Feng Bujue said, "Speaking of which, can a guy with such a name become the mayor?" The people of the planet shrugged shoulder really don't judge people by their names. The name Cheater is basically the same as money corruption and betrayal of the country on Earth. You don't know yet, do you? From the moment you landed, every word and action of the three of you was transmitted to me and the doctor by the shoulder fly, probably the fly of Planet Shrugged Shoulder, microsurveillance robot. The mayor continued, Humph. The earthling by the name of Pokerman, you're a super intelligent hero, aren't you? Looks like you'll be able to predict our actions sooner or later, so I'll be frank. Hey, what are you talking about? What's with this since I'm powerless to resist? I'll just enjoy it tone. Fong Bujue complained, you're selling yourself. According to your logic, as long as your IQ is high, you'll get full marks on the exam. You don't have to answer the questions. That's right, the doctor and I have already captured everyone in the city. The mayor continued to expose himself on the radio. After assisting the doctor to invade and take control of the Star Government building, I issued an evacuation order as the mayor. The residents of the city were unaware and obediently left with the doctor's mechanical transport army. The entire evacuation process was very smooth. It took less than an hour in total. He said proudly, these people, or hostages, are now in a place that only the doctor and I know about. If anything happens to us, those people will be buried with us, and you'll never be able to find them. Ha 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 ha. He let out the idiotic villain's signature laugh. Do you understand now? Heroes, you'd better do as I say, or else. Hey, what are you doing? At this point, there was a sudden noise on the radio, and then, who told you to use the automatic broadcast? Bastard. What does that have to do with anything? Give me back the walkie-talkie. Cut the crap, I should be the one saying this. I'm the great, evil one. Bullsh *T, what can you do without my help? You only know how to mass-produce brainless killing machines. Whose invention are you calling brainless? Although the two of them tried to keep their voices down, their words were still heard by Fong Bujue and the rest through the radio. I'm talking about you, you scientific geek, Luther Waste. The mayor's words turned into a scream. Then, there was a silence that lasted for a few seconds. A moment later, the doctor's voice came from the radio. Oh, ha 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 ha. Listen, invaders, I'm the great, evil one. Oh, how dare you shoot me with a laser gun? A loud scream interrupted the doctor. It hurts. Chirp, chirp. There were two distinct sounds of weapons being fired, and then there was silence again. After a few more seconds, I'm the great, evil, invincible one. Oh. That hurts. You bastard. I want. Bang. A sound similar to a grenade explosion interrupted the howling that sounded like a pig being slaughtered. Phew. Dr. Biao let out a long sigh, and his trembling voice came from the radio. Listen, heroes, ignore that guy, I'm in charge here. He was stunned when he said this. Hey, why did the surveillance robots lose their signal? Why can't the surveillance cameras in the building capture anyone? Where did the heroes go? Hey, Staff Officer Days. What's going on? At the same time, in a corner on the first floor of the trashy Planet Government building. This is a blind spot for the surveillance cameras. Fong Bujue said to the two heroes beside him. From Dr. Biao's reaction on the radio, he has indeed lost track of our whereabouts. Brother Ju said, and opened his palm. At that moment, there were two metal objects that looked like insects lying in his palm. If you find something similar nearby, it's best to get rid of it immediately. Chapter 531. 10 minutes later, in the underground safe house. This place was the last line of defense for the dregs of Star Government. As long as the only exit was closed, the safe house could defend against any conventional weapons of war. Unfortunately, due to the existence of the spy, the dregs of Star Government officials did not have time to escape to this room before the entire building fell. At this moment, this place had become Dr. Biao's safe haven. TSK. They actually broke through all the way here. Dr. Biao could roughly guess the route the superheroes took from the order in which the surveillance screen turned black one by one. That's strange. The dazed staff officer stood behind the doctor and looked at the surveillance screen with a solemn expression. Why is there no deviation in the route they took? It's like they already know the coordinates of the safe house? Yes. The robots that we kept sending out to intercept them were all defeated one by one. Dr. Biao continued. The two of them muttered in unison, Why? Could you be the spy? The two of them reacted almost at the same time, pointing at each other and shouting. What a joke! Are you stupid? I'm the boss here. Why would I betray myself? Dr. Biao shouted. Humph! The dazed staff officer snorted coldly. Who knows? It's because you're the least suspicious that makes you the most suspicious. In detective novels, the person who least resembles a criminal is a criminal, isn't that right? Nonsense, Dr. Biao replied. There are only the two of us left here now. No matter how you look at it, you're the spy. You're just trying to clear your name by blaming me. He laughed coldly as well. Do you think you can fool me like this? In front of my great wisdom, this kind of psychological warfare is child's play. Bang! Accompanied by a dull thud, the thick superalloy door of the safe house cracked open, and three figures slowly entered the house. They're really here. Feng Bujue looked at the two people in front of him and said weakly. Damn it! They're here so soon. Dr. Biao said through gritted teeth. That's right. We followed the direction where the robots appeared, and we reached our destination without taking any detours. Brother Ju sighed deeply. Sigh. When I saw the miniature robots, I had some expectations of your intelligence, but who would have thought, sigh. Why would I waste my energy to destroy the surveillance equipment along the way? What? Dr. Biao and the dazed staff officer exclaimed at the same time. So that's how it is. This time, Feng Bujue really didn't know what they were talking about. You're good. I underestimated you. As expected of a super-intelligent hero, you actually used this method to quickly find our location. Dr. Biao stared at Brother Ju and said. The dazed staff officer added, and it almost caused internal strife among us. Your vicious plan of killing two birds with one stone is really chilling. After Feng Bujue heard this, he was stunned for about 2 seconds, then he took a deep breath. Hiss! Phew! Then, Brother Ju slowly walked to the corner of the safe house. He stood facing the wall, put his hands in his pockets, and swayed his body slightly. Then, he began to gently knock his forehead against the wall. What are you doing? Dr. Biao and the dazed staff officer both jumped back alertly. They were all wearing armor. Is he going to launch some kind of attack? Bastard! Feng Bujue ignored them and continued to knock his head against the wall. The other 4 people in the room didn't know what he was doing and didn't dare to act rashly. They all chose to wait and see. After knocking his head rhythmically for a minute, Brother Ju turned his face and put on an expression of someone who had done something wrong. I've already accepted your setting. You're all done for. Dr. Biao was shocked. What did you say? Feng Bujue ignored the other person's question and suddenly waved his arm. He asked aggressively, Biao. You're really a terrifying scientific genius. You've done this. What is your goal? When Dr. Biao heard this, he laughed out loud. Ha ha! Now you know fear. If you want to hear it so badly, I'll tell you. I want to use my mechanical army to conquer the entire universe. What? Feng Bujue's face was filled with panic. So, Planet Biao is just your stepping stone. Next is Planet Shrugged, and then the entire galaxy. His expression changed. Wait, that's not right. With your small army, you can only take over 1 or 2 planets at most. How can you take over an entire galaxy? Ha ha! You're too naive. Oh, So the hostages and government officials were taken there, Fong Bujue said while rubbing his chin. Dr. Baya seemed to have realized something and immediately shouted, "You despicable man!" The dazed staff officer was also shocked. He actually managed to get such important information out of me without batting an eyelid. This man is too scary, all right? My mission is complete. Fong Bujue turned around and looked at break dancer and kicker. You too. I'll leave the rest to you. Oh. Well done, poker man, break dancer praised in his Indian accent. Very good. Now it doesn't matter if we accidentally kill them. Kicker turned his gaze to Dr. Bayu and the dazed staff officer. You. Dr. Bayu was sweating profusely. Don't think you can be arrogant just because you killed my 3 generals. The armor on my body is... The underscore told underscore him, non underscore you underscore ever underscore come underscore here, non underscore wanna underscore z underscore your underscore face, you underscore better underscore disappear, the underscore virus underscore and underscore the underscore eyes. More than 10 minutes later, the 5 of them had returned to the street. Just now the song Beat It was played. Under the dance of break dancer and kicker, Dr. Bayu and the dazed staff officer were defenseless and quickly surrendered. If it were not for the protection of the armor, the 2 of them would not have survived. Ha! Look, the spaceships of the Alliance are here. Kicker pointed to the sky and shouted. Fong Bujue had also seen the black dots in the sky. He said, There are quite a lot of them. The number of space shuttles should be more than 100, eh? That's strange. Break dancer said. The configuration is not right. Kicker also said, The logistics, rescue and escort teams are all using medium-sized spaceships and above. I think there are only about 10 of them. He paused. Why are there so many small combat spaceships? Are you worried that we can't handle a C-class crisis? Break dancer said half-jokingly. At this moment, suddenly, a khaki-colored, frog-shaped shuttle flew out of the fleet and stopped in front of them at super-high speed. It was a very small shuttle, twice the size of Curry. After the hatch opened, a man in a toad armor jumped out and flew to Fong Bujue and the others. You are under arrest. As soon as Toad Man landed, he said this to Brother Jew in front of him. This member of the Supreme Council of the Super Alliance had a deep voice and a burly body. From the looks of it, the people of Mahat did not look very different from the people of Earth. However, Toad Man was wearing a mask on his face, so his real appearance was unknown. You must be mistaken, Fong Bujue replied. Even though I'm not that famous, at the very least I am in English. You are lying. Toad Man interrupted. His words were sonorous and powerful, showing that he was very confident. I used the hair you left on Curry to do a test. There is no doubt that you are a pure-blooded Earthling. However, there is no trace of your DNA on Earth or any other human colonies. He paused for a second, as if he was observing Brother Jew's expression. Even if there is no record of your birth, you have lived in this world for so many years, so there must be some traces left behind. However, you appeared out of thin air. The Super Alliance's computer system could not find any evidence of your existence. He took a step forward. So, you must be from another universe, or even another dimension. Fong Bujue's expression did not change. He was calm as usual, but in his heart, he was complaining. Are you kidding me? The difficulty level has risen from Pong to Lock. Where did this guy with an off-the-charts IQ come from? Does he really live in the same world as these people around me? Also, Toad Man continued. Based on your performance just now, whether you are a human or not needs to be verified. Fong Bujue instantly caught some information. What happened after I left Curry? Can you see it too? Toad Man said in a deep voice. Is there a problem? Humph. Brother Jew sneered. I understand. You installed a miniature surveillance device on Thunderdancer and Tapper Stranger. What? Hearing this, the two immediately shouted out in surprise. Is this true, Toadman? Toad Hero? Step Strange Guest asked. Don't get too excited, Toadman replied calmly. We can discuss this when we return to the Alliance. I think what he means is yes, I installed it, but let's not talk about this in front of outsiders. Fong Bujua laughed. If I'm not wrong. His gaze met Toadman's threatening gaze. All heroes above the galactic level, and some with special abilities, have your surveillance device on them. Toadman! Thunderdancer shouted. What is going on? Pokerman said. Yes. Toadman knew what the other party was going to say. He responded directly. I don't deny this, but I think you will at least give me a chance to explain. He turned his head and took a deep look at Fong Bujua. Everything wait until we take this unknown and undefined threat back to the Alliance headquarters. Chapter 532. The Milky Way, the headquarters of the Universe Super Alliance. The founders of this space base were obviously very far-sighted. At the beginning of its construction, they were fully prepared for expansion. In just a few decades, this place developed from an interstellar space station to a small artificial planet. In the year 8275 of the universe calendar, a traveler from another world was invited here. He would be a key figure in the future catastrophe. Of course, right now, he was just a prisoner. Screech. The sound of the electronic door closing announced that only Brother Ju was left in the room. Here we go again, Fong Bujua muttered as he observed the surrounding environment. Seems familiar. He sighed. It's better to be locked up in the shrugged shoulder planet. The area of this room was almost the same as the interrogation room of the shrugged shoulder planet. The lighting was also from the ceiling, and even the color of the walls was similar. If there was a difference, it was that there was no one-way glass in this room, and there were no tables or chairs. Let's do another wild ball punch. Fong Bujua saw that the skill's cooldown was over, so he used it again. Naturally, his every move was being monitored by others, and he was very clear on this point. However, now Brother Ju didn't need to hide such a small thing as using wild ball punch in the air. He needed to explain far more than this. 10 minutes later, the door of the room opened and Toadman walked in. When the door behind him closed again, he said, I think our conversation should start with introducing ourselves. No, our conversation should start with, is anyone listening in at this moment? Fong Bujua responded, no. Toadman seemed to know that the other party would ask this question. He immediately gave a very positive answer and added, before I came here, I had already terminated the monitoring program in the room. Without my key, it can't be restarted. He spoke very quickly and his words were very organized. So, when he said this, he took off his toad helmet, revealing a face that was 80% similar to a human's. The most significant difference between the Mahathians and humans was that their cheekbones were very high. In other aspects, they were not much worse. I'm Enwei Slub from Mahat, Toad Hero said, a member of the Supreme Council of the Universe Superhero Alliance. The hero's name is Toad Hero. I am Fong Bujua from Earth. Brother Ju also gave his title. A superhero from another universe, Pokerman. How can you prove it? Toad Hero asked. I can't prove it. Fong Bujua spread his hands. It's up to you to believe it or not. Since that's your attitude, Toad Hero continued, then I'll tell you this in a different way. He looked straight into Brother Ju's eyes and said darkly, there are 3 types of people in this world. The first are normal people. They have limited power, are content with the status quo, and are fearless because of their ignorance. The second are smart people. They thirst for knowledge, are ambitious, and are revered because of their knowledge. And the third is people like me. His expression darkened. I don't trust anyone, including myself, because I have my weakness. At this point, Toad Hero suddenly reached out his arms to grab Fong Bujue by the collar and lifted him up. People like me are afraid of everything that cannot be controlled, and you are one of them. Haha. Trying to scare me. Brother Ju laughed. Unfortunately, it's useless against me. He tilted his head. But since you've put so much effort into your act, I will reluctantly explain it to you. Once that was said, Toad Hero knew that his act of playing the bad guy had been seen through. Helpless, he could only scoff and let go of Brother Ju. Fong Bujue adjusted his collar and used this short moment to arrange his thoughts. Then he said, "First, in my universe, there is no such thing as the U-Super Alliance." "I already know that," Toad Hero said. Toad Hero said. He was confident because he had seen Brother Ju's performance on Planet Shrugged Shoulders. After all, he had taken the video directly from the military base's database on Planet Shrugged Shoulders. It was not difficult to see that this person had never heard of the U-Super Alliance before. This was very important. It could not only support the conclusion that he came from another universe, but it could also rule out the possibility that he was a spy. Secondly, just as I said on Planet Shrugged Shoulder, I was forcefully teleported during a battle, which was why I appeared in that desert. Fong Bujue continued. Logically speaking, I naturally thought I was teleported to an alien planet. It was not until later that I gradually realized that this was another universe. Toad Hero muttered. Go on, didn't you see what happened next? When we first met, I did tell some lies to the Thunderbolt Dancer and the Tap Monster, but that was just a matter of going with the flow. I just wanted to reach the alliance that they mentioned as soon as possible and seek help, Fong Bujue replied. Then, they received a mission, and I took the initiative to help. No matter how you look at it, this is considered a great kindness, right? He paced a few steps. From the beginning to the end, I was on the side of justice, right? How do you want me to prove that I am a hero? Do you want to see the Pegasus meteor punch? Toad Hero did not understand the last two sentences, but the first two sentences were quite convincing. Because this statement was half true and half false. The true part was in front of the other party, but there was no evidence for the false part. Toad Hero stroked his broad chin and thought to himself, logically speaking, there are no flaws. I can believe that you are a hero. Toad Hero thought for a while and replied, but the incident of crossing into a parallel universe can be big or small. Your arrival may be insignificant, but it may also cause a devastating disaster due to the butterfly effect. He paused. I will gather the members of the Supreme Council and discuss your problem together. Before our meeting is over, please do not leave the U-Super Alliance headquarters to avoid unnecessary trouble. I have nowhere to go, Fong Bujue replied in a very normal tone. In fact, I intend to stay here and join the alliance. He immediately said, Oh, right, you can also mention this to your colleagues at the meeting. Toad Hero heard this and looked suspicious. Listening to what you said, you seem to have given up on returning to your own universe. Fong Bujue answered smoothly, because I have heard from your words, the hope of me going back is very slim. Toad Hero was silent for a few seconds and said, Well, I will convey your wish for you. He turned and walked to the door. But before that, I'm sorry, you have to stay in this room for a while. Chapter 533. After Toadman left, Fong Bujue began to pace in the room. Based on the current situation, he could only wait patiently. Escaping was definitely impossible. From the intelligence level, Brother Ju was in the other party's headquarters, and he knew nothing about the environment, personnel, defense deployment, and other information. It was difficult to implement any strategy. From the military level, any planetary hero was enough to make him suffer, not to mention there were so many heroes here of course. Even if there was a chance to escape successfully, Fong Bujue wouldn't do it. As he said to Toadman, he really had no place to go, and joining the Yushuan Alliance was his best choice now. This organization was powerful, had abundant funds, and had almost unlimited potential resources. With Brother Ju's ability, if he could gain their trust, settling down was naturally not a problem, and his meteoric rise was just around the corner. At the same time, in the conference hall of the Universe Superhero Alliance. This hall was surrounded by scientific instruments and giant computers, and in the middle was a futuristic long oval metal table. At this moment there were 7 superheroes sitting at the conference table. They were Toadman Mahathian, Tinfoil Man Mud Alien, Eggplant King, Not Laughing Alien, Monkey Hunter, Noble and Cool Alien, Black Hole Queen Unknown Life Form, Dr. Eternity, Earthling, and Captain Shit Alien. Among them, there were 3 who looked like humans, Toadman, Tinfoil Man, and Dr. Eternity. The difference between the first 2 and humans was, the Mahathian had high cheekbones, and the Mud Alien had large eye sockets. Dr. Eternity came from Earth, and he was a hybrid of human and alien. He looked like a Caucasian in his 40s, his actual age was unknown, with a mustache, slightly curly hair, and a black cloak covering his whole body. Except for these 3, the remaining 4 were far from human. For example, the appearance of Eggplant King. It was a giant eggplant 2 meters tall and as thick as a tree trunk. On the top of the eggplant, there was a slightly protruding face. There were 3 round eyes and a mouth on the face. There were no organs like ears or noses. Looking at the Monkey Hunter, he had short brown hair all over his body. His body was as long as a bamboo pole. His torso, arms, and legs were almost the same length. When he stood up, he was nearly 3 meters tall. As a noble and elegant planet, he also had an innate racial advantage, his particularly developed vision. His eyes were very similar to a rabbit's, growing on both sides of his head and slightly protruding. This gave him a very wide field of vision, and he could see things behind him without turning his head. Furthermore, this pair of eyes had the ability to gather light and could see things in the dark. Next was the Black Hole Queen. Her appearance was easy to describe, a black ball of light with a diameter of 1 meter that spoke with a woman's voice. Lastly was the captain of the shit planet. Don't worry, his body is definitely not composed of feces, and he is definitely not equipped with a feces helmet or a feces shield. Overall, he was a gigantic humanoid creature with a V-shaped torso. He was also about 3 meters tall, but he was much more muscular than the Monkey Hunter. Due to the mask on his face and the tight suit, it was unclear what he looked like. These 7 were the members of the Super U Alliance's Supreme Council. Based on the time on Earth, the Alliance had been around for about 50 years already. During this period, the members of the Supreme Council had changed. Initially, there were 10 heroes in the Supreme Council, but due to various reasons, 5 of them were no longer part of the group. The remaining 5, plus Eggplant King and the Monkey Hunter who joined later, formed the current group. That's the basic situation. What do you guys think? Toadman told his colleagues about Brother Ju and analyzed the credibility of each piece of information without any bias before he asked, "Brother Ju, what do you think?" Tinfoil Paper Man was the first to speak. "What else can I think?" He laughed frivolously. "I think you've already gotten yourself into big trouble." "What?" Toadman was startled. He thought to himself, could it be that the problem caused by this Fong Bujue is far more serious than I thought? But Tinfoil Paper Man said something else. "Do you know how many complaints I've received from heroes in the past week?" Toadman's face darkened when he heard that. "We should be focusing on Fong Bujue now. The complaints about me can be put aside for now." No, we can't put it aside. The complaints about you are the most urgent problem." Tinfoil Paper Man smiled. "My old friend, you've gotten yourself into big trouble, do you know that? If not for the 6 of us, you would have been beaten to a pulp by your colleagues in the Alliance." Toad Hero let out a long sigh and replied, "All right, if you want to discuss this, then I'll just say it." He paused. "That's right, I'm monitoring the other heroes. Everyone above star system level, and those who I think need to be monitored are on my watch list." "In other words, the 6 of us are also under your surveillance?" Black Hole Queen asked. "Unfortunately, as much as I want to monitor everyone here, I'm unable to do so technically." At this point, Toad Man had nothing to hide. He turned to look at Tinfoil Paperman. In terms of machinery and nano-level technology, Kratos is better than me. Whether I tamper with his armor or put micro-robots in his food, I'll be seen through quickly. He then turned to Professor Yongheng. "It's even more difficult to install a surveillance device on the professor. Even if it's successfully installed, once he uses his dimensional power, like teleportation, the device will lose its effect." At this point, Toad Man turned to the other heroes across the table. Monkey Hunter's sensory power and Eggplant King's unique biological structure have also declared that the possibility of long-term surveillance is 0. His eyes moved slowly. "Regarding Black Hole Queen and Dung Star Captain, after so many years, I haven't even been able to study your powers and their limits, much less—" "Hey! Monkey Hunter interrupted Toad Man's narration and continued in an agitated tone. "We want to ask you why you're doing something like this? You're actually complaining non-stop in a matter-of-fact tone. Whether you understand it or not, I believe that what I'm doing is absolutely necessary," Toad Man said. "Just think about it, if a galactic hero suddenly betrayed the Alliance and went on a killing spree, what kind of consequence would that cause? The foundation of a superhero alliance is mutual trust. Your suspicion is an insult to the other heroes," Eggplant King retorted. "I'm not suspecting anyone. I'm just taking precautions. I'm prepared for everything," Toadman replied. "Furthermore, if no one knows, there's no insult, so I've always been careful." Then how did the cautious you get exposed?" the Monkey Hunter said sarcastically. "I underestimated his intelligence," Toadman said darkly. "Originally, it was fine to say those words in front of Breakdancer and Tapman, but who would have thought that Fong Bujua would come up with such a conclusion in an instant and say it out loud?" Professor Yongheng said thoughtfully. "Is that so? That sounds like an interesting person." All right. Tinfoil Man stood up. "Everyone arguing and chatting won't solve anything." "But I didn't say anything," Dung Planet Captain grumbled. Tinfoil Man raised his head to look at him. "I'm grateful for that, Captain." He smiled and continued. "In any case, the most important thing now is not to argue about right or wrong but to solve the problem." He turned to Toadman and Wei. "There is only one way to solve this problem. You have to stop the surveillance on all the heroes. You can insist on your opinion, but you have to apologize to the heroes that you've been monitoring and give them an explanation." "You don't need to tell me that," Toadman replied. There was something else that he did not say out loud, and that was, "After all, we've collected enough data." Now. Toadman paused for a few seconds before continuing. "Let's return to the main topic of this meeting. Do you think the poker man from a parallel universe, Mr. Fong Bujua, is trustworthy?" Chapter 534. After a long wait, the electronic door behind Brother Ju finally opened again. Outside the door stood a large figure. His whole body was covered in a tinfoil suit of armor. It had to be said that the appearance was rather unsightly. "I think I should represent the Alliance in apologizing to you, Mr. Fong Bujua." Tinfoil Man stood outside the door and said to Brother Ju, and Wei's reaction was a bit too much. "I hope he didn't make you unhappy." "No, I'm more than happy." Fong Bujua glanced at the man calmly and said, "Oh, by the way, if you don't mind, please call me Poker Man." "No problem, Poker Man," Tinfoil Man said. Feng Bujue nodded slightly and walked toward the door. When he stopped before the man, he said, "You're Tinfoil Man, right?" "Yes," Tinfoil Man replied. "You can call me Kratos." "Okay, Kratos." Feng Bujue added, "Since you're here, it means that the discussion with the Supreme Council is over. So, how do you plan to deal with me?" "Haha," Tinfoil Man replied with a smile. "The Universal Superhero Alliance welcomes you to join us." That's good," Feng Bujue said and walked out of the room. At the corridor outside the door, other than Tinfoil Man, there were 3 other people standing there. They were Break Dancer, Step Stranger, and Professor Yongheng. After Feng Bujue greeted the 2 aliens, Professor Yongheng took the initiative to say, "Hello, Poker Man, I don't think you know me yet." He paused. "Let me introduce myself. I am Professor Yongheng. I am also a hero from Earth." He extended his right hand from under the hood. "Nice to meet you," Feng Bujue answered as they shook hands. "Nice to meet you." He smiled. "I was just looking for someone to ask the difference between Earth here and my universe." "Heh. I think we will have a lot of topics to talk about." Professor Yongheng also revealed an unfathomable smile. "Well, you two, there will be plenty of time to chat in the future. Now," Tin Foil Man interrupted, "let's help Poker Man settle down and go through some necessary procedures first." In the next hour, Feng Bujue went to collect a Hero ID card with the accompaniment of the 4 heroes. It was a card made from special technology. Not only could it identify DNA, it could even identify brainwaves. The chance of it being stolen was close to 0. He registered the name Poker Man. In the future, Brother Ju could use this ID card to move freely in the Alliance. However, his card's authority was still very low, and there were many areas that he couldn't go to. In the process of going through the procedures, Tin Foil Man and Professor Yongheng explained to Feng Bujue how to use the ID card and some basic knowledge related to the U-Super Alliance. In addition, they also mentioned the matter of the hero level test. After a bunch of settings were explained, the 2 big brothers left. About an hour later, all the chores were done. Feng Bujue followed Thunder Dancer and Tap Stranger to the door of a room in the Hero Dormitory, Area Z. This would be his future residence. "This is as far as we go," said the breakdancer. Tap Stranger added, "Remember to keep in touch, Poker Man." "Okay, thank you both," Feng Bujue replied. The 3 exchanged a few more words and went their separate ways. Brother Ju used his Hero ID card to open the door of room Z250 and walked into his dormitory. It's not as shabby as I thought," Feng Bujue said after entering the room and looking at the environment in the room. As mentioned previously, the size of the U-Super Alliance's headquarters was close to that of an asteroid. Therefore, its functions were very rich. Heroes could resupply, train, receive treatment, and receive missions here. Some dangerous criminals, such as Dr. Doom, or items would also be temporarily detained here, waiting to be dealt with. In addition, the base also provided technical support, such as transportation, communication, reconnaissance equipment, and weapons. In addition to the heroes, there were a large number of researchers and other staff here. The U-Super Alliance was also responsible for the accommodation of these people. The place for the heroes to live was the Hero Dormitory. As a living area, the space taken up by the dormitory was very limited. It was good enough to ensure that each person could have their own door. It was impossible to have 2 rooms and a living room. For example, Feng Bujue's room Z250 had a total area of only 40 square meters. Entering the door was the living room, and the only compartment was the bathroom. Of course, even though it was small, it had everything. The basic amenities like bed, closet, air conditioner, fridge, microwave, water heater, and toilet. Depending on the race, the configuration would be different, but Feng Bujue was obviously staying in a room that was suitable for human habitation, were relatively complete. The cooldown for Wild Ball Punch has been refreshed again. Feng Bujue closed the door and fired another punch. Since entering the scenario, this was the 7th time. He still had 53 punches to reach level 2. In any case, let's observe the environment first. Feng Bujue walked forward and started to inspect the room. The room's furnishings were very simple, and there was not much that could be investigated. Considering that he would have to use it in the future, Brother Ju naturally could not conduct a destructive search like he would in a normal scenario. He could only carefully touch and knock here and there to make sure that there were no hidden mechanisms, secret passages, hidden cameras, listening devices, and the like. In the end, he found nothing. With Toad Hero's personality, it would be strange if he did not monitor me. Feng Bujue said, and he should know that I would think that, so his surveillance method must be very difficult to discover. He scratched his chin and mumbled, perhaps he has used some method to install a mini surveillance device in my stomach. Oh well, after all, once we find the safe house, his surveillance device will be useless. Feng Bujue had confidence in the system. After searching the living room, the next place to go was the bathroom. Brother Ju pushed the door open and entered. Then, he was greeted with a happy scene. Other than the basic amenities in the bathroom, there was an additional door. On the door, there was a circle, and inside the circle was the word shock. Ha! My wish has come true. Brother Ju was overjoyed and walked toward it. After he stepped into the safe house, the system announcement appeared in his ears. Under normal circumstances, NPCs will not actively approach the space where the safe house is located. Please do not purposely lead the NPCs to the safe house, or else it will cause a chain reaction and increase the rejection of the universe toward you. The rejection of the universe toward me. Feng Bujue repeated thoughtfully. Sounds like some kind of hidden value. His thoughts flashed, and so did his actions. Once Brother Ju entered the safe house, he walked toward the elevator. To get a good rating in the hero level test, he decided to leave the scenario and return when he was fully prepared. Warning, you are currently leaving the scenario. The next time you enter, you will incur a game coins fee. Are you sure you wish to do this? The moment he walked into the elevator, he heard this warning. Feng Bujue shrugged and reached out to press the close door button. The metallic door closed, and the elevator started to move. At the same time, the system said, "Please select the time when you will log into the world next time." As he finished, another virtual menu popped up before Brother Ju's eyes. There were 5 options on it. 1 minute later. 2 1 hour later. 3 3 hours later. 4 12 hours later. 5 48 hours later. This setting could be found in the game manual and the introduction of the new mode. In other words, when the player left the free exploration mode, they could choose the time when they would enter the game next time. If they did not choose, or if they exited the scenario unnaturally, the system would default to 48 hours later. Feng Bujue thought about it and chose the third option. This way, no matter how long it took him to play the free exploration mode, even if it was a year later, only 3 hours would have passed in this universe. You have left the free exploration mode. Not long after that, the elevator stopped moving, and the system announced. After a fleeting sense of distance, the screen before Brother Ju's eyes showed the end of the mission. Free exploration mode has ended. Calculating reward. Obtained EXP 27760. Game coins 100-inch obtained item. Pokerman Hero ID card obtained skill points 670. Calculation complete. Please continue. That's quite simple. Feng Bujue looked at the end of the mission and commented. Indeed, compared to other modes, the end of free exploration mode was very short. There was no clear reward, no mission-related reward, no terror rating, and not even a bonus from skill points. Other than that, since this was the first time he had entered this mode, Feng Bujue's reward was quite small. Of course, this was also very fair. The difficulty was proportional to the reward. It was just following behind the two extraterrestrials and crushing a group of low-intelligence villains. To be able to get this much experience and skill points was already not bad. In fact, the 20,000 EXP and 600 skill points were mainly due to the poor marshal. With my current ability, it is impossible for me to reach the star system rating. Feng Bujua thought as he walked toward the storage room. Even if I am a star system hero, it will be hard. He placed the hero ID card into the storage room. The initial test is very important. If my level is too low, there will be a lot of obstacles in the future. Looks like it's best to train for a while more and wait until I am a star system hero before returning. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.